where you'll each get, time for opening statements. You'll have moderated open dialogue, and then you'll get closing statements. And we do call-in sections where people can call in from the audience. We'll do super chat, Q&A, that kind of stuff. Is all of that okay with you?
That is all okay with me. Just closing the door. Yep.
Okay, sounds good. And then which one of you wants to go first on your opener?
I'll let Rachel.
I'm cool with either.
Rachel, you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So then what will happen?
It literally says debate on your channel. Just saying. It says Rachel Wilson debates Lauren DeLaguna. So I don't know how you thought it was an interview if your own stream says debate.
Yeah.
That is a good point, Lauren.
Because I thought we were going to be debating a little bit, but I kind of thought it was going to be the way that I debated your husband, where he just came on my stream and we chatted and we.
Wait. No, wait, Lauren, you didn't. I very clearly told you that we were not going to do that format and that we were hosting a debate. I told you this clearly in DMs that was going to be the format. I can read the DMs if you'd like.
Okay.
She's saying she'll still.
I don't really care. Like, I'm flexible. We could just go with it, though.
Okay, I'm just letting you know, like, that's what actually happened. I wanted to make sure it was perfectly clear, in fact.
Yeah, you were on Twitter going, how long are you going to run from me? I wanted to debate you. And I was like, all right.
You were going to run from me. It seems like you were taking.
Okay, well, hang on. Before we go live on our end, since it sounds like, Lauren, you're the challenger in this. So the way we do it at the Crucible is who the challenger is, we'll go first. So you'll go, okay, that's fine. But you'll go first on your opener then, and then you'll get the last word for the closing statement. Okay? Is that cool?
Alrighty.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'm going to drop us all down. I'm going to do some introductions on our end, and then I'll bring you guys out. You'll get to introduce yourself to the Crucible audience, and then we'll get right into it. Cool?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go live right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crucible. I'm your host, Zen Shapiro. Glad to be back. Happy you're all with us tonight. Very excited. We've got a great debate lined up. We've got Rachel Wilson, also known as the Crucible's wife. She will be returning to debate Lauren DeLaguna, who has been on the show before, but she's making her official Crucible debate debut. They will be discussing the institution of marriage from a secular versus religious perspective. Lauren will be defending the former, while Rachel will be defending the latter. So should be a lot of fun. I don't think we've ever actually had this specific debate go down on the Crucible before. So we're keeping it fresh. We're keeping the content fresh for you guys. You know you're spoiled. We keep the content flowing, but the only way we can do that, of course, is if you support us, do all the YouTube shit, like, share, subscribe, public service announcement. Here at the Crucible, we want all of your money, so send it all to us via super chats, either on YouTube or the Dono Chat link, which is pinned in the top of the live chat. We will get to all of your super chats in the Q&A section at the end. And like I said, we appreciate your guys' support. It's been great lately. That's how we keep the channel sustained. That's how we keep the new and fresh content flowing for you guys. So yeah, send those super chats in, become a channel member, all the good shit, all the YouTube shit you're supposed to do. We appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back with our debaters. I don't know what's happening. Is it playing for you guys? It's not playing on my end. Let me try this again.
Play for me.
and that guy and this part right now. And we're back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Lauren DeLaguna on the left, Rachel Wilson on the right. Lauren, before we get into it, take a second, shout yourself out, tell everybody where they can find you.
Hi, you can find me on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Twitter under the moniker Lauren DeLaguna, as spelled right here.
All right, thank you for being here tonight. And Rachel Wilson, shout yourself out, tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, I'm muted. Okay. You guys probably already know me, but I'm the Crucible's wife, Rachel Wilson. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Rachel Wilson. You can find me on Substack at rwilson.substack.com.
All right. Thank you both for being here tonight, and thank you all in the audience for being here tonight as well. For those of you that are not familiar, the format we do here at the Crucible, each side will get 7 minutes for an opening statement, followed by roughly an hour to an hour and a half of open dialogue. At which point each side will get closing statements, and we do take callers here at the Crucible. So if you want to call in at the end of the debate, you can do so by getting a Discord link from the mods in the live chat, and then go into the Discord and get a stream link from the mods in the Discord. And they'll get you a stream link, and you can call in and ask your questions directly to either debater. And of course, we will read all of your super chats at the end, and we appreciate all of your support as always. So. We did discuss backstage because Lauren is the challenger. She will be going first. So, Lauren, whenever you're ready, you have 7 minutes on the clock for your opening statement.
Okay. I understand that marriage, the institution of marriage, derives from a religious place. It derives from the church. It used to be a sacred bond between two people for a religious purpose, a promise to God to stay together for the purpose of creating a family. And this is how it was for thousands of years. And I 100% get that. And I appreciate that. And I think it's beautiful. And I think it's actually the purest form of marriage. That being said, in America, we have constitutional rights, one of them being the First Amendment. With the First Amendment, the government is not allowed to discriminate based off your religious preferences. So that includes even discriminating against those who are atheist or agnostic, those who are non-secular. So the government is not allowed to discriminate. And furthermore, even though there's nowhere in the Constitution that says marriage is a protected constitutional right, we have something called precedent in the United States. And in the United States Supreme Court, we have a couple of cases that show precedent that people have the right not only to get married, but to choose whom they marry. And so we have Loving v. Virginia, which was about interracial marriage. And then we have Hodges v. Overfeld, which is on shaky ground. And that's about gay marriage. But as of right now, we have constitutional protected rights to marriage. And the government is not allowed to discriminate based off race or based off religion or race for that matter. And for those reasons, we have the need for our government to allow both the religious and the non-religious to get married. There are issues with this. There are many issues with this, including why we have these high divorce rates, how we don't have the same sanctity in marriage anymore. The only way that you would be able to undo all of this is to completely get government out of marriage. So that would mean no tax benefits, no green cards, nothing, none of the benefits that you can possibly gain from marriage from the government can possibly come anymore if you want to completely make marriage back into a religious ceremony. And because I love America and I love the Constitution, and I don't think that we should start discriminating based on religion, I think that we should continue to work on the marriage laws in America, which are deeply flawed and currently hurting men more than women right now. We need to work on those, but at the same time, we shouldn't start discriminating based off religious preference. And I'll close right there.
All right. Thank you for that opening statement, Lauren. And Rachel, same goes to you. You have 7 minutes on the clock whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this kind of popped off because there was a little bit of a Twitter war that we had where Pearl said something about marriage being a bad deal for men, and maybe we just, maybe we shouldn't be telling men to get married when there's really no advantage and only disadvantage for men to get married in the current age. I agreed with her take, and Lauren challenged my take. And she kind of said, oh, you're being hypocritical if you're telling men not to get married. You're religious. You like marriage. So I would agree with Lauren what she said, that marriage was always a religious institution that was just recognized by the state. Prior to, it goes state by state when that changed. As Lauren would know, the states are the ones that have jurisdiction. It's not really a federal matter. The Supreme Court can rule on it, but it varies state to state what the laws are. That being said, I see no reason for men to have modern secular marriage. It's pure disadvantage for them. There's really no advantage at all. It doesn't really give them much protection. So what I would say instead is, why not return to the church, have ecclesiastical marriage? You used to have to petition your church to get a divorce. And your priest, your pastor, depending on what church you belong to, their ecclesiastical court or their clergy would deal with the matter. And then the state would legally recognize the union. So in case of something like bigamy or child kidnapping, then the enforcement arm of the state is there to deal with those matters, right? But I don't see how anything Lauren said refuted my opinion, which is that secular marriage right now is a terrible deal for men. Not that I would ever tell men what they ought to do, but if they say, hey, I don't see any advantage or reason to just get a legal contract through the state it's basically a friends with benefits contract that's easier to break than a lot of gym contracts, than a lot of apartment leases and things like that. So I just don't see, it's kind of incumbent upon Lauren to argue why men ought to even consider this purely secular, legalistic form of marriage we have now, if it's not backed by.
I'm sorry. I thought the debate topic was whether.
Oh, hang on. Hold on. Whoa. Okay. Thank you. Are you done, Rachel, for the opener? Yeah. Okay. Thank you both for your openers. Before we get into it, I want to remind you guys, we are going to be taking callers tonight. So if you want to call into the stream, get a Discord or get a stream link from the Discord mods, and you can call in and ask a question directly. Discord link should be in and out of the live chat, and then if you're a regular in the Discord, you know where to go. So if you want to call in, you can do that. Be sure to get in the queue as quick as you can. And we also will, as always, we'll be reading super chats. So send those super chats in. I know we got a few already. We will get to all of those. And like I said, we'll do roughly an hour to an hour and a half of open dialogue. I understand this is going to be contentious, or I think it is. So I expect both of you to listen to my moderation and adhere to it. And try to be charitable to each other. Try to, be concise and clear with your arguments. Keep interruptions to a minimum. But just, as long as you adhere to what I say goes, then we're not going to have any problems tonight. The floor is open, ladies. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a clarifying point on actually the prompt. So I thought the prompt tonight was whether or not we should ban people who are not religious from even getting married at all.
If it clarifies it all, I see no point in doing it. I personally don't recognize it as anything. I don't believe secular marriage is a thing. Like, you can call it that, but it's a word. It's basically a word concept fallacy, right? So the word doesn't always have one meaning. So when modern Americans say they're married, what they mean is they went to a courthouse, went to the clerk, and got some paperwork signed. And then if for any reason they don't like each other tomorrow, they just go sign more paperwork that undoes the first set of paperwork. To me, that's not marriage. It's some kind of friends with benefit living arrangement contract of some kind. But marriage is a sacrament of the church. So it depends, I guess, what you mean by marriage.
Okay. Let me rephrase. Do you think the do you think secular people should be able to get married and have like the same recognition as religious people when they get married?
Recognition by
By the
who? The state? Yeah. But like the whole premise was, I don't know why you would. Why would you bother?
So
it doesn't
you
mean
just don't-
anything.
So you don't get why other people would do it, but you are still for it? You're still for the allowance of it?
I'm not. Well, first of all, there is no allowance or disallowance. You can sign a legal contract, right? I don't have any say so over the matter. But as an ought claim, do I think you ought? I personally think there's no advantage to secular marriage. Why would you do it?
I think we're missing.
For what reason?
Okay. Should the government only allow religious people to get married? Should the government only recognize marriages that are done in a holy union? Hold on, let me get a charger too.
Joyce has a house party going on.
No, I just finished filming on Sauce Cat.
Well, I mean,
so yeah,
we do this right now. I mean, we do have just the legal contract version of so-called marriage now. Do I think we should? Like, if two lesbians want to LARP and pretend that they're married so that they can like give each other their Subarus when they die, like, do I care? No, they can do that, but I'm not going to call it marriage. I wouldn't recognize it as such. And for when we're talking about the problems that men are having these days and what the state of the family is, I would say we ought to return marriage to the church. I don't really care so much if the state lets people have secular marriage. I just think it's not marriage. And if you're a man who wants a family, be married in your church. And the state should support and recognize religious marriage.
So if you don't care about all of this, when gay marriage was a vote before it was ruled on by the Supreme Court, because the federal court actually does have some say over issues on marriage, do you think that, or did you vote for gay marriage then? Is that what you're saying? You voted to allow?
I don't think I did, no.
Do you?
But I mean, again, if the state wants to say two dudes are married, I guess the state can say that, but to me, it's not.
Yeah.
So, like, can I stop those people from doing what they want? No. Am I trying to stop those people from doing what they want? Well, that's not up to me.
Okay.
But do I think gay men ought to be married? No. It's silly. It's not a thing.
But the thing is, you vote, and you're a very political person, and so is your husband. That's like your whole thing, is you guys talk politics. So you care about legislation, and you care about like the future of our nation and America. So it seems odd to hear you say, well, I literally don't care about the legislation at all. Like, anyone can marry anyone. At this point, it sounds like you're saying that you would allow the government to have, dads marrying daughters or dads marrying sons at this point. If anything goes, according to Rachel Wilson, I mean, you must have some care about the legislation, no? Or are you for?
Well, congratulations on passing your bar exam, by the way. That's very cool. But if you pass the bar, you would know that, like, I personally can't allow or disallow. But if you're asking me what I think ought happen, I don't think we ought have secular marriage at all. I think it's completely pointless. I think that it destroyed the institution to turn it into a legal document rather than a sacrament, which you admitted in your opening is exactly what's happened. We no longer have cohesive family units. Now Steve and Bob can get married, which renders the institution completely meaningless.
Well,
so
exactly
do I think there ought to be secular or gay marriage? No. I think marriage ought to be a sacrament of the church that is recognized by the state.
Well, this is exactly why I fight for proper legislation regarding marriage, because although it is a contractual relationship monitored by the state, which does take away a lot of the holiness of the original agreement of marriage, it's a requirement for our society to keep going to encourage marriage. And it seems odd it seems odd to hear you say that you can't force anyone. Like, that's exactly what laws do, actually, is they require people to make certain, you follow laws, or else you go to jail or you get fined. So,
Okay, great. So do you think the current laws about marriage actually do any of the things that you just said they should do? You said they should encourage people to, have families. Do you think the current marriage laws do that at all?
I think the current marriage laws do incentivize marriage in some ways. So, for instance, they incentivize people who are wanting to come stay here, to start a family here, to get married, to do so in order to get their green card. They encourage military members to get married in order to get added benefits. They encourage people to get married for tax benefits. There actually are a lot of encouraging. However, there's a lot of things within the legislation that you and I agree with that make marriage poor today. And I would like to work on improving that legislation, especially to make it more equitable for men, because right now I do think men have the shorter stick when it comes to familial laws. And I would like to improve that legislation and not just become an anarchist, and surround myself with a church and not care about the world around me and only care about the church and what the church thinks about my marriage.
No, so what we did when we took marriage and made it into a secular legal institution, and then we added things like unilateral and no-fault divorce, is we just destroyed the institution altogether. Now it's completely meaningless.
You and I can agree that there's issues with unilateral and no-fault divorce. You and I can agree there. But I can also see some of the benefits to no-fault divorce and some of the issues with requiring an at-fault divorce. However, what I was going to say earlier to your point with, I don't see the point of secular marriage, that's fine. You can still have a religious marriage where it's done by the church, and you have to, in order to get divorced and have that divorce recognized by the church, you have to have something like bigamy or polygamy or something along those lines. You could still have that while simultaneously allowing secular people to have a marriage as well that isn't recognized by the church.
Okay, but you said that the purpose of marriage is to promote cohesion and morality in society. Is that right?
Well, promote family, creating families. Did I say cohesion and morality? I don't know.
What do you think? Let me ask a clarifying question. What do you think the point is of secular marriage?
I think the point is very similar to religious marriage, starting families, creating babies, which is why I'm actually not for Hodges v. Overfeld. I think that's shaky law. I voted against Prop 8 in California. Or if I didn't have the voting power at the time, my family voted that way. I can't recall. But I've been pretty consistent where I care enough about the legislation and I care about the sanctity of marriage at the same time. And I recognize that when we let politics invade marriage, it harms marriage and it harms the value of marriage itself. That being said, it's been a requirement in our society. It's part of life. It's part of how we continue as a society. And therefore, we have to figure out a way to write legislation to protect the sacred nature of it and to keep families together, to do all of the things that both you and I want. So, for instance, we can work on rewriting legislation to make it much more difficult to get a divorce. We could rewrite legislation to keep families together and incentivize families to stay together, because there are currently a lot of pieces of legislation that actually also incentivize divorce, especially when you look
but without a moral basis, how do you think you're going to create just secular laws that are going to encourage people to create lasting family bonds? Okay. Literally the number one thing that determines whether people stay together or not is if they are religious and if they believe that that's the foundation of their marriage. It's in every survey I've ever seen, it's right in the top one or two things.
I'd like to see
this. Yeah. So how exactly do you propose we write legislation because let's just take a look. If you go back to prior to no fault, now there were problems before no fault because America was already the leader in divorce in the world in 1916. And this was in large part due to a lot of feminist suffrage-related activism that wanted freer and easier divorce for women. So already by 1916, we were the world leader in divorce. And that's also when the birth rates began to decline significantly, before birth control was ever even in the picture. So it seems that when you take this religious sacrament and turn it into, hey, anybody who wants to pretend they're married can be married, like two dudes, two ladies, whoever, just these atheists who have no moral foundation, everybody can get a certificate that says they're married, and then, you can inherit each other's crap when you die and you can get a tax break. How on earth are you going to take a system that has no moral foundation and then have it create morality?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your points there, but where I lose you is, how do you square the fact that we have a right to marriage and we have non-religious people in this country, and we have a right to be either religious or non-religious?
Well, I think the foundations of America are deeply flawed. I take a whole chapter in my book to talk about it. But the fact remains that you can't what's
I
that?
haven't read Occult Feminism yet, but is on my reading list, so I will eventually get around to it.
We like that. But what you can't do is take something that's supposed to be, this is much of what America tries to do. It tries to borrow from Christianity and keep the morality, keep the part we like, the stuff that works, but then just make it secular. And my whole point is that doesn't work. You can't do it.
But what do you think
removes the entire foundation.
But what do you think about like freedom of religion?
I think it was generally a very bad idea, because what freedom of religion tends to mean from a legal sense is you can do witchcraft and nobody can tell you can't, right? You can create a Mormon cult where you can have polyamory and all this stuff. And
do you believe in witchcraft? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, you're saying if you could do witchcraft and nobody could tell you can't, well, only people who do witchcraft really believe in witchcraft. So why would you care? It's kind of like, oh my God, they could praise Christ.
Well, I'll tell you why I care. If you probably know all about this. The Church of Satan has said that abortion needs to be permitted because it's one of their sacraments. Susanna Budapest, who was an immigrant to this country in the 60s, went to San Francisco and was the first person to successfully overturn witchcraft laws that banned witchcraft, because she said, I have the right to religious freedom as an American citizen now that I've gotten my citizenship, and you can't tell me I can't do witchcraft. And witchcraft, whether you believe their actual magic works or not, doesn't matter, because they practice things like homosexuality, orgies.
These are illegal. It's illegal to be
human sacrifice.
No, they're not practicing human.
Yes, exactly. It's all legal, right? It's all these things are legal. You can get an abortion. You can be homosexual.
Okay.
And why? Mostly because of freedom of religion. Because it's like, well, we got to let you do you, bro. I can't tell you what's right or wrong.
Okay, hang on, Rachel. Let her respond. Let her respond, Rachel.
So, like, if you were a witch, for instance, and you moved to a state where it was illegal to have an abortion, you wouldn't have like a First Amendment right. You wouldn't be able to say, well, my religion says I need to have an abortion, so you must allow me. There are limits to your freedom of religion. You don't get to just say, I'm going to break this law, which is in the books, not based off a religious reason, for my personal religious preference. So just because some witch wants to move to San Francisco and practice witchcraft and overturn witchcrafting laws and have orgies and have gay sex, fine. She's probably going to have orgies and gay sex anyway because she's in San Francisco. So
yeah, so just make it legal, right?
It's already legal. It's already
legal. Everything that you
gay sex.
Now it's my turn to respond. You are talking out of both sides of your mouth, because you said that the purpose of marriage is to promote morality, cohesive family units, things like this. And I'm telling you that what America did by making marriage just a legal contract and no longer based in any sort of religious morality is they removed the morality part. So now all marriage is, like you said yourself, well, I guess you could get a tax break. Well, these are all things we can do without it being marriage. They could call it something else and just give you a tax break for cohabitating. But let's take a look at what happened when we removed morality. This idea that there's such a thing as secular morality, this emphasis on rights with no regard for duties whatsoever, is the entire problem. It's the reason why America's all fucked up. We had less than 5% of children being born out of wedlock in 1960. Now that number is close to 50%. We had only a very small number of children living in the home without their dad back then. Now it's the majority. Most marriages fail now. A lot of people aren't even bothering. They seem to agree with me. The marriage rate has declined precipitously because they agree with me that there's really no point to it.
So then
it's just a living agreement.
So then you would actually want the government out of marriage completely. Like you would just want to separate the two.
No, I mean, what we had before this horrific experiment of Enlightenment, human rights, secularist nonsense, what we had was thrown an altar. It was always that the church and the morality of the church informed the state. Whether you had a monarchy or some other kind of form of government, the morality of the church informed the state. As you said, the foundations of law are morality that comes from the church, like the Justinian Code is kind of the basis for most law in the West. So when you try to extract that moral foundation and just make laws that are based on you do you, bro, like I can't stop you from cooming, what happens is nothing means anything. Everything is just a formality. Everything is just paperwork and nobody gives a shit and they just dismiss it and do what they want.
Would you rewrite the First Amendment?
Well, see, this is something that takes us way off track. Asking Rachel Wilson what she would do. Oh, let's ask Rachel what her form of government would be if she could rewrite I wouldn't rewrite amendments at all. I have my opinions, but I don't even believe women should vote or be in government because we can't enforce any of those things anyway. So I could have my opinions on it, but what we're talking about right now is the U.S. law as it stands regarding marriage, and it's a horrible failure. It's a terrible failure from every metric that you could ever look at. And if there's any measure by which it's successful, you can inform us of what that is.
No, I feel like I'm recognizing the flaws in the American marriage system and the American family court. And I agree with you in a lot of the flaws that we currently have in modern marriage. I disagree with you though on the solution, especially because I really don't feel like I'm hearing. So I've offered like having government out of marriage. I've offered having like the government ban religious people or non-religious people. I've offered like several solutions to you, or I've offered changing legislation to promote. And I feel like all you're saying back to me is secular marriage doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because there's no meaning behind it and it's just stupid. And it's like, okay, that's not what is the meat of it. Like, how are you going to move forward in America? Do you want the government? Because there's only so many options that you can move forward. And I kind of laid out the three. So
okay, well, I'll tell you what I'd like to see.
Sure.
If you want to know what I'd like to see. Yeah. I would basically just say what my husband advocates for all the time, which is for men to say, listen, ladies, we're not going to marry you if your body count is sky high. We're not going to marry you if it's just a legal contract. You can come with me to church and you can be baptized and become a member of the church with me. And we can have a marriage through the church that is also recognized by the state, because that's the case right now. If Andrew and I get married in our Orthodox church, the state recognizes that and we can get a license and all that stuff. So then if I decide, 10 years down the road, I just don't feel sexy anymore and I want to go find myself, I'm taking the kids. Sorry, Andy, like just fuck off after you've, facilitated our family for 10 whole years. I can't do that because I would have to go to my church and go through an ecclesiastical divorce process, which is only allowable for very few things like abandonment, cruelty, abuse, things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
And then if say I don't want to do that, then in order for me to go and just get the legal party race to just go get a legal divorce and leave him anyway with the kids, number one, he's going to have a much better time in court because he's going to be able to say, hey, she agreed to all this, like, yes, there's legal part, but we were in church and this was our our covenant marriage that she broke, I'm going to get excommunicated from the church. And that's just a much bigger, heavier burden. And if women don't want to do that, then they don't get the ring, right? If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to follow your husband and let him lead and obey the church, then you can just be a thought and permanently ride the carousel, and that's going to be your life. So no ring, no ring for you if you want to be a thought.
But what if your husband...
And if you want to know how I change the laws, I think the men need to rise up and demand that the laws are changed. They can easily lobby to get laws changed. Maybe not in every state, but in the states that do pass it, men will move there en masse, because any man who wants a family is going to go to a state that facilitates it.
Would you have a body count law? Like, once you've hit this many body counts, you get married?
You don't need to. You don't need to. This idea that we need to legalize everything is also, so it's a bifurcation. You're acting like I either have to legalize everything in order to get people to behave or nothing, right? That's a bifurcation. It's not, it's a false choice. So men can very easily influence women's behavior by simply ignoring them when they act like stupid sluts, right? If women are out there partying and just fucking a different guy every week, and you're a good, decent man who wants a husband or wants a family, then you just simply ignore those women. You don't have sex with them. You don't talk to them. You don't click the like button. You don't send them cash for their bathwater or any of that. If men decide tomorrow that they want to change this, it can change.
But
because at the end of the day, women still want men's attention.
Yeah, that's why women...
And you'll be left with nothing but simps. You'll just be left with an ocean of incel simps who are going to send you cash, and you can live alone with your cats.
Okay.
Now, can I stop you legally from doing that? No.
My ex-boyfriend is literally flying me to meet Tucker Carlson next week. So, like, I don't know what you're talking about with being surrounded by...
Is that supposed to be an argument?
I mean, it's somebody that I've had... Yeah, you're trying to say that I don't have real men in my life who actually genuinely care about me because...
I didn't say anything about you. Who said anything about you?
Oh, okay. So that wasn't directed at me?
No, it's directed at most of the American public, most women in the American public that just give away their most valuable asset for free to any random dude at a bar because he bought her a vodka and soda. Yeah. So
I don't.
My advice to all ladies out there is don't be stupid. Don't do that. You can set yourself up for a much better life than that, is all I'm saying.
Alrighty.
You might know that I have also met Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
On his show. And I didn't have to fuck anybody to do it either.
Yeah, I'm not really fucking anyone. He's just a very good friend of mine who cares about me deeply. And also,
I thought he was your ex.
Yeah. I'm not fucking him now. He's my ex.
So you didn't bring that up? You didn't bring that up because you thought when I was talking about thoughts that I was referring to you, which I wasn't. But if the shoe fits, you think I'm talking about you saying, by the way, my ex-boyfriend is flying me to meet somebody famous. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's not an argument. Aren't you supposed to be a lawyer? Come on, give me an argument.
I mean, you have not provided even touched on the argument that is the basis of this entire premise. But okay, the reason that I brought that up is because you're saying that women would be surrounded by a sea of simps, and I know that you see my sea of simps, and so that's why I thought you were implying me. The reason I brought it up is because... Wait a
minute. You have a YouTube channel with 5,000 subscribers, and you've been on YouTube twice as long as I have, and mine's got like 7.3. What ocean of simps? You've got a puddle of simps. Congratulations, you're on your way, but you ain't there yet, but keep going.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and yours are simps?
No, mine are people who actually listen to me because I'm smart.
Right.
But keep going with your argument.
Before this continues, hang on. If you guys want, you can continue with the blood sport that you're creeping up into if you want. But just know that if you're not gonna make arguments directly pertinent to the debate, then you can't expect moderation if this flies off the rails. That's just a disclaimer. If you guys want to keep going the route you can, the route you are, then you can. But just a forewarning, I'm not going to bail anybody out if it goes that way. Go ahead.
I'm just saying if she just passed the bar exam, I'm expecting an argument. That's all.
Yeah, so I laid out why in the United States, it would be unconstitutional for us to move forward in a way in which we prevent secular people from getting married. And I laid out the legal arguments as to why. And then I highlighted the issues with the secular marriage that I agree with you on, and I explained to you why I agreed with you on those points, and then I moved forward with how we can fix the issues with the current process. So that was what I did. All you did was say that my ideas were stupid. So
No,
and then brought up your
recall.
opening argument was our Twitter battle, like wild. That was some shit. I mean, I've been in debate spaces before. That was possibly the worst opening argument I've ever seen. But you go, Queen.
So you might remember that I said, if you'd like to see what I'd like to see happen, I'd like to see men say, listen, if you're not going to get a covenant marriage with me that actually means something, I'm not going to do it.
So once again, you're talking about men changing their attitudes. It has literally nothing to do with the premise of this argument. But that's okay. You go.
Are you saying, wait a minute, are you saying that we can't change divorce law? Because you said you'd like to see divorce law change. So
yeah, I'm talking about the change of legislation. I would like to see changes in divorce law. I wouldn't like to just
what kind of changes would you like to see?
That all of the men in the world stop being idiots and stop simping and learn how to be respectful men and learn how to lead and how to take their women to church. I will pray for that. However, that's not the only. I'm not just going to pray that happens. That seems to be your solution. I'm actually going to try to
kind of already happening though, because they're just not getting married. Men just aren't doing it anymore.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah. I mean, also laughing and sticking your boobs out is not an argument. But I did say men can lobby to get divorce laws changed.
Sorry, what?
Yes, I have boobs too. I just don't show them to everyone. Well, I'm 43. I was young once too. Don't worry. If you live long enough, you'll get to where I am.
Alrighty.
Anyways, okay. So men could lobby for divorce laws to change. And I think that they should. And they are already starting to do that. There's a few different people on Twitter that I've had spaces with who are doing this right now. There are men's groups that are lobbying for changes in the law. They are gaining steam. They're getting more funding. And I would love to see them change laws. Now, do I think every state's going to do that? No. But I think that even if a handful do and men start gravitating there and they have more meaningful religious-based marriages that are backed by the state as well, that this will set a precedent, right? We set precedents in case law, and then it will gain some steam and become more popular for people who want good marriages. And here's the thing, the whole country doesn't have to change, because the people who want to have these phony baloney secular lives with no morality, they don't have any kids, all right? They're already at like 1.2 kids per woman or something. They're well below replacement. If religious families want to have actual covenant marriages, stay married and make families, they'll have five kids, 7 kids, 11 kids, like we do.
State, you bring up the term covenant marriage because it already exists. That's already an option. If you want, you could already move to the states that allow that and get covenant married.
But right now, the laws do not actually reflect that. As you said, right now, there's a lot of problems with the secular aspect of the law, with the state aspect of the law that just permits whatever. Okay. So that needs to change. It's a multi-pronged approach. It's don't get a secular only marriage. Don't marry some lady who has no religious values whatsoever and has a sky-high body count, because you can see where that's going to go. So don't reward those women with commitment. I'm talking still. Okay. You don't reward those women with commitment. You don't give them any resources, and you don't pay them any attention. You reward the women who want to be good wives and good mothers and stay married. And that's how we turn it around. Culture is usually what precipitates the law. For example, no-fault divorce. Everybody likes to say no-fault only came about because this increasingly secularized and feminist nation, just the women didn't want to be married anymore. They wanted to just be able to leave whenever they wanted. So the laws had to change to reflect that, right? So we can change the laws back.
I think there were other issues. I can agree with you that feminism has been a problem. Like I genuinely am really excited to read Occult Feminism. It is on my reading list. But I don't think that's the only problem. Before we had no-fault divorces, we did have issues like a higher issue of higher issues of violence and inability to prove. You were allowed to get out of a marriage. So like you were allowed to go to the court and say, hey, my husband's abusing me and I want a divorce. But then you have to prove it. And that's a process within itself. And getting the resources, especially when you're already in an abusive marriage, can be extremely difficult to even prove that to a court of law. So there were severe issues with the whole no-fault divorce aspect. And then now there's other different issues with with the fault divorce aspect. And now there's even different issues with the no-fault divorce aspect. So we still have DV, obviously, but we have less of an issue where you don't have to prove it in order to get out of the marriage. You could just divorce to get out of the marriage. That being said, your husband can now sneeze the wrong way and you could get out of the marriage. She could fart too much and you could get out of the marriage. So like that's a little bit of an issue too. So we have two distinct issues, and I would like to find some meaningful legislation to somehow find a happy middle.
Well, what do you think that would look like?
I think it would be an ability, like some sort of a separation process in which you would be able to separate couples that are struggling. And because we do have legal separation, and a lot of states actually require that you're separated for a period of time before you even have your divorce. So I think there could be some sort of a separation process where you allow people to get the information that they need to court in order to get the divorce if necessary, but still require some sort of at fault or something, especially if there's kids involved, make it even more difficult. I think there are absolutely ways in legislation that we could fix it without making it, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt or whatever the standard was, that some high legal standard, which could also relate to charges. So another issue with DV, sometimes even if you can get away, you still don't want to report your abuser because you just don't want to go through the legal process. Well, when that's a requirement, that makes it even harder to get away from the guy. So you don't even want to report him in the first place, but now you're required to report him just to leave him. That's a major problem. So if we could have some sort of...
So wait a minute. Do you think that the church didn't deal with that? You don't think the church dealt with...
I spoke to your husband about this before, and he said, like, well, in the church, the way that they would deal with that is the church would look into the marriage, and if the husband's abusing them, they would deal with it within the church. And I understand that. But once again, in America, we can't segregate based off who's getting married, based off whether or not they're religious or not. So we have to allow it. And if a non-religious woman doesn't have like the familial system or the church system that you were so blessed to have, then she should be able to have some sort of safe separation to be able to.
So you kind of just made my point that this would also incentivize women. This would also incentivize women to return to church and have an ecclesiastical marriage through their church, because that's a community that's going to provide a layer of protection for you that the state cannot. The state doesn't know what's happening in your home. If you are a member of a parish and you're going to listen, I let you talk.
I'm Jewish.
If you're going to church every Sunday, what?
Just I'm Jewish. Just so
your synagogue. You could go to your synagogue and they would also probably know your family. You would know that community. And, it's a little tougher to hide. I'm not saying it's impossible. And by the way, there's no law that prevents every bad thing from happening. We all know this. But if you're part of a community that's paying attention and knows you and knows your life, they're going to be able to help you a lot better than, if you have to go and file for a protection order from a random strange court that has no idea about your life.
Yeah.
And this provides a layer of protection for women as well as men.
This is great argumentation to encourage people back into the church. However, that's not what, I don't disagree with you that I would like to see more people in church. However, I don't want the government requiring it. I don't want the government incentivizing it, because once again, that would be a violation of the First Amendment. To even incentivize people to go to church is
Wait a minute. I believe the First Amendment only says that the state cannot establish a state religion. It does not say that people cannot be religious. It does not say that your whatever your religious beliefs are can't somehow affect the law. We know that this is the case because there are issues with this. So
it can affect
it's kind
the
of
law, but
you're kind of misleading people to say that we just can't have it.
You're misunderstanding. There's several things. There's actually the First Amendment is an entire class in law school, and then you could do 2 years of just First Amendment. So you hit on actually a lot of really interesting points in your in your statement right there, like about what the First Amendment is. But one thing that you are missing is the state cannot encourage or decentivize religion. So if you're saying that you could only get married if you're religious, or if the state is somehow encouraging people to go to a church, that would be a violation of the First Amendment. However, you are correct. It doesn't prevent you from being religious. It doesn't prevent lawmakers from using their religious morality, from writing laws with that. Like, it doesn't, you could use your religion to impact laws. You're correct on all of that. But the law itself is not allowed to encourage people or discourage people from going to church.
Right. But as you said in your own opening statement, this didn't used to be the way it was. So when we had laws that supported the religious foundations of marriage, we did not have this level of divorce. For example, from 1692 to 1786, we only had 143 divorces granted in the United States, and we were still one of the more liberal areas of the world as far as divorce went. So 143 divorces over the course of 90 plus years, that's pretty effing low. I don't see why we couldn't go back to something like that. Other than this idea people have, this misunderstanding people have, that our society must be secular. Religious people have every bit as much a right as secular and atheist people to lobby for changes to the law, to influence the government, and to have their interests represented. We are supposed to have a representative government. So why is it that Christians can't lobby for a change in laws? That, like I said, it's not like I'm expecting California will do it, but why would places like, you know, Utah, Indiana, some of the more conservative enclaves in the country, why would those places not be able to have laws changed that are more supportive of covenant marriage, which most Americans in this modern secular age don't know is a thing? A lot of people have never heard of it. They don't really know what it is. They have grown up for generations now with this idea that marriage is just this legal piece of paper. So why can't we promote this? Why can't we lobby for it? Why can't we encourage it and present it to all the concerned men out there as a solution?
You can, and you should.
Yeah. So why was it that you felt I was being hypocritical when I said I agree with Pearl that as it stands now, the legal situation for men, marriage in this country, is not a very good deal, and until that changes, I'm not sure why you would do it. Now, that's not telling men not to get married, but that's saying, you know, I don't see the argument in favor of telling them they need to, like a lot of the right wing does.
Because you can get covenant married. That's always an option. You can get married through your church. You can do all of these things. And so I would want to encourage people to get married, and especially if they're religious, to get married through the church and to have all of those wonderful things in marriage that both you and I care about and want to keep. That being said, I just don't want to discriminate against people. Like, I don't want to violate discrimination. I essentially don't want to violate the First Amendment. Christians are more than welcome. Any religious group is more than welcome to lobby the laws, and whatever laws they put in place, as long as they don't violate the Constitution, are totally fine. And just because they have a religious purpose doesn't mean that they're necessarily violative of the First Amendment. So I don't have an issue with men you could get covenant married. Yeah, so it's always an option.
Right. Okay, you can. But as the laws are now, even in that situation, women can still go to the court, and they're going to have all the advantage if they do decide they want a divorce, and they can just say, oh, I didn't understand what I was doing, or, you know, I thought I was, you know, Baptist, but I'm not, and now I'm atheist, and so I need to get out of this. He's emotionally abusive, and I need to get out, right? So why can't we, if 70% of people in the country identify as Christians, let's say they start to get serious. They look around and they start to get a little serious and go, you know, maybe I should be more serious about my religion and be more practicing. Would you have a problem with Christians influencing government the same way that atheists and secularists do?
No, I'd be thrilled. I'd love to see more Christians and Jews influence and be active in government. I'd absolutely love that.
So do you think that, I don't know that there's a lot of Jews who want non-secular government, though. I think that in polling, they tend to be largely secular. Even if they identify as Jewish, they're not with the exceptions of like Hasidic and Orthodox Jews, they're not very religious, and they came here, a lot of them, because they want this like secular atheist type of governance.
No, because they want the freedom of religion because they've been persecuted. I don't know if you know what's happening in Israel right now, but a lot of people don't like us. Yeah.
So are you a practicing Jew then?
No, bacon's a weak spot for me.
Okay.
Yummy.
Okay.
But no, my dad's Catholic, my mom's Jewish. So I and that was what I was going to say too, with the statistics of like when Jewish people poll that they're secular, it's because, do you identify as Jewish? Yeah, I'm my mom's Jewish, so I'm a Jew. But am I Jewish? My rabbi says I'm Jewish. And he really emphasized the ish.
Okay. Well, regardless, all this kind of to say that making marriage secular, trying to conform it to the American system, by the way, it's up for debate because this was never like the original interpretation. A lot of the founders did not agree with this. We're going to be a secular atheist nation. It was never intended to be that for them. They didn't want there to be an Anglican church with a king who dictated things, because this is a mostly Protestant nation and it was reactionary against the corruption of the Catholic Church. I get all of that. But I don't understand why under the American system we cannot advocate for changes that we want to see based on the results. Like I said, if you look at homeless children who are in juvenile facilities, children who are in treatment centers for addiction, kids who have ADD and ADHD, depression, children who are in psychiatric hospitals, almost all of them, a huge majority, come from broken homes, disrupted homes of some sort. So even if you're secular, I don't understand why you would want to continue down this path where the family has been completely decimated. So even from a secularist point of view, even if you're a total atheist, why on earth would you want to continue to see this decline where we have dropping birth rates, we have no more nuclear family, we have rampant crime, addiction, depression, anxiety through the roof? Like, even if you're just a consequentialist, why would you not want what I want?
For the 1000th time, I do want what you want. I want more unity in families. However, I recognize that we have an American legal system. We have a justice system. And with that system, unless you want to completely
but it's fluid. But this is my whole point to you. My whole point to you is that this system allows for change.
Okay, one at a time, please.
This system is supposed to be representative, okay? So if most people want this changed, if most people look at the consequences and they say, yeah, this little experiment sucked, maybe letting women vote and maybe making secular marriage a thing and maybe just like obliterating the moral foundations of our country haven't worked out so well for us. We're in massive decline and everything's fucked. Maybe we should change. You're insisting that like there's something preventing us from doing that because we have some kind of foundational principles that won't allow it, when that's not the case.
Yeah, I'm saying that we can't prevent people who don't go to church or temple or a mosque or whatever religion. We can't prevent people from getting married under the American legal system. We can't say marriage is only for some people and not for other people, especially based on religion.
So what if we changed it? What if we passed laws that said, look, marriage is reserved for people who are doing it through church and state together. Whatever you other people have, we'll call it civil union. We'll call it cohabitation. We'll call it cohabitation contract. But maybe we should say, you know what? You don't get to have marriage because that's not what it is.
How about
maybe we could just make the distinction?
How about this, Rachel? How about we change all of marriage in the United States to marriage? We'll just change to marriage, not marriage, it's marriage now. And if you want to get really married, you could go to a church and get married, and you could get buried. You could get married and buried. So everybody else will have marriage, and you'll have marriage and marriage. Does that make you happy now?
Well, what would be the differences? So
it would be literally the same as it is right now.
Why can't we just return to the marriage laws that we had in 1840?
Because
is there a reason we can't just bring them back?
Yeah, because we've had precedent.
Yeah, but we had Roe versus Wade, and that got overturned. There's lots of times that law gets overturned.
Right, like I've said in the
law is very fluid and it changes.
Like I've said multiple times, Hodges v. Overfeld is on shaky ground. I would like to see that overturned. However, other things like Loving v. Virginia, which is about interracial marriage, I don't want to see that overturned, right? And that's where our founding of people being able to marry who they want and having a constitutional right to marriage, that's where that derives from. So there are certain things that I think are pretty strong case law that create precedent, which means it's hard to go back from that, right? If we have precedent.
Maybe they do, but do you think they should?
Do you
think we should uphold precedent, or do you think it should be overturned?
Loving v. Virginia? I think Loving v. Virginia should be upheld. That would be pretty wild to say that.
Okay. I can agree with you. I have no problem with interracial marriage. However, why is it that we have to have secular marriage except for things like homosexuals? Like, why do we need to have that? Why can't the atheists just live together? What's the difference?
Why can't we have secular marriage for everyone except homosexuals? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying why not just throw out the idea of secular marriage altogether and say, look, if you're not having a church ceremony, what do you need this this marriage certificate for? Why don't you just sign a roommate contract? Because that's what it is. But why?
Because
why does it have to be?
Because there's certain rights granted to you when you get married, and the government cannot discriminate.
But we can change that. So
where can they?
So there's all kinds of rights we have now.
Hang on, Rachel. Let her finish her answer, and then you can get back in.
You can also change the law, and you can encourage changes of the law, but you cannot violate the First Amendment, and that's where I keep getting stuck on. And that the First Amendment is literally the first. So I don't know how you want to come back from that. You want to discriminate?
So yeah, sure. So when was the First Amendment written?
It wasn't written in 1776. I think it was 1786? Was it 10 years later?
I think it was about thereabouts. Yeah. So why did the marriage laws of 1801 violate the First Amendment?
Well, there was no hold on. So like before there was a First Amendment?
No, like a year after the First Amendment became law, did the marriage laws of that time violate the First Amendment?
So, that's a really great concept that you're getting at. Yeah, technically. So there's a lot of things that have been in America's history that violate the Constitution.
So it's very open to interpretation.
No, that's not true. There's things that violate the Constitution, and until it's determined in law, then it's difficult to tell. So for instance, like slavery is violative of the Constitution. Well, I mean, we did have a 13th and 14th Amendment. I'm trying to think of an example of something. Oh, okay. Like after slavery, so like Jim Crow laws, right? So those were deemed unconstitutional. However, at the time that they were currently in place, they were already unconstitutional. They were but being enforced, and it wasn't until it got to the Supreme Court that it was deemed unconstitutional. So yes, it would be violative of the First Amendment, but they wouldn't.
Okay. So it took. How long did it take them to figure out that marriage laws that we'd had for 200 years violated the First Amendment? It seems very open to interpretation. From what I can see, if there was no challenge to it until just now when the gay lobby started pushing this, or when the feminist lobby started pushing things, right? So why is it exactly that we cannot overturn precedent? It happens all the time. Didn't it take 200 years? What if it takes 200 years to flip it back?
So yeah, if
it can change one direction, it can change the other.
You absolutely can overturn precedent. So you have to overturn precedent based off. So all precedent is, especially when you're at the United States Supreme Court level, like things that are decided in the Constitution, because Marbury v. Madison the Supreme Court is the final interpretations of the Constitution. So once it gets to that level, you can reversed. But with stare decisis, the longer something has been, like, the longer laws have been compounding upon it, because laws kind of build off of each other, the more likely that that's considered solid law. So like Marbury v. Madison, for instance, that's never going to get overturned. That's solid law. It is what it is.
I don't know. All my life, I heard Roe v. Wade was never going to get overturned. I heard that all my life, that it was not possible. I heard
Roe v. Wade was
my own mother would rave about how that was super not possible. But why do you think there's a where in the Constitution?
Hang on, Lauren. Let her finish. I've been keeping it under control. Let Rachel finish her answer. Rachel was responding to something, and you were cutting it. Just let Rachel finish, and then you can get back in. Good.
Okay. To compare,
where in the Constitution does it grant people the right to marry?
Loving v. Virginia, because precedent. However, your analysis of Roe v. Wade and Marbury v. Madison is just somewhat comical because of like the hundreds of years of distance between them. And when people were saying, "Oh, Roe v. Wade will never be overturned," those were like modern day feminists over a law that they just captured. That they were like, "Oh, yes, we just."
It was 50 years old. That happened in 1973. It took 50 years.
So you said
it took 50 years. No fault divorce is not any older than Roe v. Wade. In fact, in New York, they've only had no fault for 13 years. So it seems like it would be very easy.
To compare Marbury v. Madison to Roe v. Wade is just silly. Okay.
I didn't. I don't care about that. What I'm telling you is that,
oh my God, you did.
I just said, no, I didn't. Can you shut your mouth so I can talk? I know you're used to just whining to get your way, but just shut up.
Okay, all right. The woman prattle has gone too far. We need, okay, if you're both talking at the same time, nobody can hear what either of you are saying. Okay. Rachel's claiming that she didn't compare
Roe v. Wade. Try to not act like a child.
Hang on. Hold on. Rachel is claiming that she didn't compare Roe v. Wade to Marbury v. Madison. Lauren says she did. It seems there was a miscommunication there. Yeah. I don't think that's something that should be hung up on. But try to move past that. Go.
Yeah, I'm saying that no fault divorce is not very old. You said, "Oh my God, they overturned Roe v. Wade because they had just got it," and I'm like, yeah, and no fault is not any older than that. The very first state to pass it was 1969, and the last state to pass it was 2010, which was New York.
When you were a kid,
there are lots of, excuse me, just a minute. There are plenty of states that have only had no fault for maybe 30, 40 years. There's no reason that they can't overturn that. Of course they could. And I think that it should be overturned, and I think we should lobby to change these things. And you've not presented any argument why we can't.
I don't necessarily disagree with you.
You do, though, because you said I'm concerned about.
Hang on, Rachel. Let her respond. Rachel. Let her respond.
So you said when you were a kid, your mother would tell you, "Oh, Roe v. Wade is never going to be overturned." Well, when you were a kid, Roe v. Wade wasn't 60 years old. Okay, all right. Anyway, because you're not.
It was like 25 years old. Okay, like I don't know how old you think I am, but it was. But I just told you that no fault divorce in New York is only 13 years old. Okay. Why can't it be overturned?
It can. Go for it.
We should.
Go for it, Queen.
Then we should.
Great. Do it. I'm all for it. Yay. Slay.
You're not all for it, though. You're not all for it. You're lying.
No one knows it.
So let me ask you, do you think that if we say, look, no more gay marriage, right? No more common law marriage and only covenant marriage, would you have a problem with that?
No more gay marriage, no more what marriage, and only covenant marriage? No more gay, yes, what?
Only covenant marriage, no gays getting married, no common law marriage, no fault divorce, none of that. We go back to let's say they just go, you know what? The divorce laws that we broadly had 100 years ago, we're going to go back to something like that. What would be the problem legally?
If you wanted to do that, that would be fine. I mean, if you were able to.
I have the sneaking suspicion you wouldn't like it. Would you get married under such laws?
Me personally, I probably, even right now, I would probably want to get married in a state with covenant laws and try to get covenant married. Boom, weren't expecting expecting that, bitch, were ya? Just kidding.
Because I think you're lying. Just like how you always say you're conservative, but you're not conservative.
I am.
You're over here advocating for women to have high body counts,
I'm
like
not
it's cool or
advocating.
something.
I'm
So
not
I kind of don't believe you.
I'm anti-promiscuity. However, that being said, I do recognize that men tend to date whores, especially Sneeko, especially Zerka, because I hang out with them.
No, they fuck whores. I mean, they don't
They
marry
date
them
whores.
most of the time.
Lord Jesus.
They fuck them.
Okay.
Yeah, they fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, if you completely agree with me on everything, why did you keep asking me why I was running from you and wouldn't debate?
You said, let's pull up the tweets, shall we?
I said if you think I'm wrong, debate me. But now you're saying you completely agree.
No,
so did I just change your opinion?
No,
did I just argue you into a corner and now you're like, I agree with you about everything because your points are better than mine? Or like
any
where do you disagree?
No,
Okay. I'm actually kind of curious too. Lauren, if you agree that Rachel's system is, good or workable,
that people could
do you believe that secular marriage is a better system, that it should be more secularized, or
No,
do you think Rachel's position is better?
I think the government is allowed to prevent people from getting married just because they are not a part of a church or a religion. That's my thing.
Well, I didn't say they should prevent them. I just said there should at least be a distinction, and that I don't see any reason why we can't return to divorce laws that actually kept families together, because we had that for all of history until a couple decades ago.
Then go for it. Like, petition for it, lobby for it. You go.
Yeah, that's the plan. But
okay.
But what's the disagreement? You're saying you don't want the government to be able to say no. So
the disagreement.
Do you want the government to be able to say dudes can marry each other and women can marry each other?
So the disagreement comes from over the Twitter. You said, I forget exactly what was said, but the argument was Pearl is against men getting married. She thinks it's really bad for them. However, it seems like you're for men getting married. It seems like you're for marriage and for the family. And so you're for marriage. That being said, I understand that there's issues with the law, but it seems like you're saying that my issue with the Pearl comment was she's encouraging men to go for younger and younger girls and to never get married, and for girls to also lock down a guy in their early 20s and get pregnant with him and get married with him and be a homemaker and be this perfect homemaker. But simultaneously, she's encouraging men to never get married. And so it just kind of seems contradictory. And that's what this whole debate was over. And then when your husband and I tried to solidify a debate argument, I thought the final, from what we took from the tweet muck, we turned that into the debate of should secular people be allowed to get married? And I'm like, or non-secular people be allowed to get married? Yes, everyone should be allowed to get married as long as they're overage and they're not marrying a family member or an animal.
Okay, so the only restrictions are family members and animals. So you are pro-gay marriage then?
Actually, I personally am not. No.
But would you want that legislated?
Yeah.
Would you want the government to say no?
Yeah.
Great. So if the government can tell homosexuals they can't get married, why can't the government tell anyone else they can't get married? Why can't the government, if the government can say you can't get married because you're gay, why can't they say, look, you're not getting married through a church, so you're not getting married? It's
because the First
I'm
Amendment doesn't protect homosexuality. It protects religion and freedom of religion. It doesn't protect your right to stick your dick in an ass.
And how do we get gay marriage? How do we get gay marriage?
Hodges v. Overfeld is how we got gay. Did you not listen to anything I said?
No. You're not. You can't just throw out case names and act like that's an argument. So explain to me what the argument was that got gay marriage passed. How did we get gay marriage passed if you say the First Amendment does not protect that right?
Yeah, this Hodges v. Overfeld was not based on the First Amendment. It was based off similar to, I think it was based off Loving v. Virginia and other precedent, I need to reread it. But they determined within the Constitution that there was a right for anyone to get married, including homosexuals, to choose. And I do think it's weak grounds. I've said so multiple times. I think that the dissent makes really strong arguments about how the states ought to have had a right to make this decision on their own. And multiple states, including California, chose not to allow gay marriage, to vote against it. So it was really wrong of the Supreme Court to ram it.
So wait, would that mean then that this change in the law that permitted gay marriage was not at all based on First Amendment protections?
It was not at all based on First. That is what I am.
Okay, so then my argument stands that the First Amendment shouldn't be in the way of the government saying who can and can't get married necessarily.
Oh, religion. It protects religion, right? So if you want to discriminate against non-religious people, then it's
not discrimination.
It would.
Why would it be discrimination if you can show that it's a religious ceremony? If you can say, look, marriage is a religious ceremony, you can have this other thing, which is called something else, but it's not gonna be marriage.
Fine, then we'll have marriage and marriage. Like I said earlier, we'll have marriage and marriage. It'll be exactly like it is now, but the state will call it marriage and the churches can continue to call it marriage. Are you happy?
Does the First Amendment give people a broad sweeping right to marriage or no?
No, the First Amendment protects the people from being discriminated against based on their religion, right? And so if the government is involved in either encouraging or incentivizing or decentivizing something, it can't be on the basis of religion. So if the government is heavily involved in marriage, which they are just a part of, is now a governmental contract, then they cannot discriminate based off religion because of the First Amendment. Gay marriage has literally nothing to do with this because sticking your dick in an asshole is not protected by the First Amendment.
You kept citing this case law as supporting your argument, and now you're saying that it has nothing to do with it. So I'm very confused.
You're not following.
Why can't the government say, look, you're atheist, that doesn't give you a right to marriage? Why does being atheist give you a right to be married?
Because you can't discriminate based off religion. Okay.
What if marriage isn't a government? Like, what if marriage isn't a government thing at all? What if the libertarians get their way? What if the libertarians get their way and marriage is no longer a state thing?
In the beginning of this argument, I gave you 3 options. One of the 3 options was completely removing government from marriage. So is that what you want to do? Would you like to completely remove government from marriage? Because that's a whole different topic. And I would be...
Well, I'm critiquing your worldview right now because you're all over the place and you don't want to take a position. So you need to tell me what you think it should be.
I've been the only one in this argument being consistent with my position and not only consistent with my position on what the topic of this fucking debate is. Like, I don't even think you've wrapped your head around that yet, and we're already an hour 20 minutes into this. Wild.
Okay, well, unfortunately, unfortunately, as we say here at the Crucible, there's never a good time to end a debate. I know you guys still have a lot to say, and you're going to get to do that. You're each going to get a closing statement, and there is going to be a call-in section. There are going to be super chat Q&A. I encourage you guys to continue your back and forths on those. I understand not a great time to end a debate, but we have time constraints. So because Lauren went first, we are going to give you the last word. Rachel, whenever you're ready, go ahead. You have 7 minutes on the clock for your opening statement, or closing statement, rather.
Okay, so we really didn't get much of anywhere because Lauren didn't really want to take a firm position. She was just trying to tell me that, now because there's precedent, we can't somehow change things. But if divorce and marriage laws were a certain way for most of history and they've only changed recently, there's no reason that we can't look at the experiment and say this is bullshit and change it back. People get this idea that that's impossible to do. It's clearly not impossible to do because we did reverse Roe v. Wade. We have reversed lots of case law that's had long-standing precedent, and I don't see where the First Amendment guarantees atheists the right to participate in a religious ceremony, which is a religious sacrament. If all it is some government contract, then Adam and Steve can have their cohabitation agreement. And then if they want to get divorced and give each other Elton John vinyl collection when they die, I guess I don't really care. But what I would like, and what is totally possible, is to restore actual marriage to a religious sacrament that is bound up with morality, with salvation, with all the foundations of meaning in people's lives that will actually keep parents together, that will create some cohesiveness. Now, can we drag the secular atheists kicking and screaming with us? No, but I don't really care, because they don't reproduce. They kill their own offspring. And if we can get the religious to understand that this secular atheist America we live in doesn't have to be the way that it is, and that we can change things, we should. And I think that we can. And so that's what I'd like to see. And until that happens, as long as it's a meaningless piece of paper that you just write the paper and then you unwrite the paper and there's nothing holding it together, I don't see any reason to tell men, especially, that they should enter into it, because it does nothing but hamstring them. It's only disadvantageous, and it provides no protection for them at all. And it's basically destroyed the country that we've moved in this direction. So.
All right. Thank you for that closing statement, Rachel. And Lauren, same thing. You have 7 minutes on the clock. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay. So the premise of this debate was whether or not secular people should be, or non-secular people should be allowed to get married in this country. I laid out the legal argument as to why secular people need to get married in this country. The reason being is because we have a right to marriage. Hodges v. Overfeld, that's where that comes in, Rachel. And we cannot discriminate based off the idea of religion. That's where the First Amendment comes in, Rachel. So, based off that, secular and non-secular people have the right to get married. I am for the idea of changing legislation to promote family unity and to keep people together. I am going to end this 7 minutes by reading my super chats, because I owe it to my fans. Team Lauren, money towards your Buy Your StreamYard fund, and let them fight. Thanks, y'all. And thank you, Rachel, for having me. And thank you, Zen Shapiro, for hosting. I thought you were a great debate moderator.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Okay, thank you for the closing statement. And for those of you that are not aware, the way we do things a little bit differently here at the Crucible. When the closing statements have been completed, we consider the debate portion of the stream to be over, at which point we do have callers. We're going to have super chat Q&A. The moderator can interact, when I see fit. And I do have a few questions. I mean, so mostly for Lauren, when you say basically what you believe in is a system where marriage is allowed, or marriage, as you call it, is allowed as long as it doesn't infringe upon somebody's religion, right? Well, you know that, in Islam, they believe in polygamy, essentially. They believe that a man can have multiple wives.
Yeah.
So without some system, like in Christianity, we believe in strict monogamy.
Mm-hmm.
So it can only be one man and one wife. But if there's no metaphysical grounding to the system of marriage or marriage, what are the restrictions that can be placed on that? And I'm talking, like, we can go really far with this. Could, like, 2 men and 2 women co-marry each other, co-bury each other?
So, as I explained earlier with the Wiccan, where even if you're a Wiccan and you move and you have the religious freedom to be Wiccan and your religious rights are protected by the First Amendment, and let's say it's part of your Wiccan practice to get an abortion once a year, something dumb. And then she moves to a state where abortion's illegal. She's not allowed to say, I have the religious freedom to do something that is against the law. And that is against the law, not based on the purpose of discriminating against. It's just a neutral, it's facially neutral is what they call it. So,
but that law would be unconstitutional, right?
No, it would not. That's because it's facially neutral.
If it's interfering with this religion, it would be unconstitutional.
No, if the government is using the law to discriminate, and this is something that a lot of law students actually get really mixed up on, so it's a really good question. If the law itself is discriminating, either incentivizing or discouraging religion, then it's unconstitutional. However, if a law is facially neutral, something like you can't get an abortion, it's not discriminating on anyone based off the reason of religion. It's just preventing the murder of babies. That's facially neutral. Somebody is not allowed to say, well, my religion allows me to break this law. So, because if that were true, then people would be the religion of lawbreakers, and they would be like, well, my religion is to drive over the speed limit. Well, my religion, and that's not something that's protected by the Constitution.
But I mean, Rachel did mention in the debate, you know that the Church of Satan, which is, if I'm not mistaken, a government recognized religion,
Mm-hmm.
they believe that abortion is a sacrament, and they
Right.
believe that it's a right, and that's something that they're legitimately fighting for.
They're more than welcome to
So-
petition legislators, just the same way Christians are allowed to petition legislators. However, if a Satanist were to go into a state where abortion was illegal, all they could do is petition legislation to change. They wouldn't be allowed to get an abortion and then say, well, this is my religious right. It would still be illegal because that law is called facially neutral. So
I don't know if I accept this term facially neutral. I don't know if I
it's a
accept that.
legal premise that I highly recommend you Google. And if you want to be a First Amendment,
Well, I mean, you know that like
recommend
like
that you get a
atheists-
strong grip on it because it's extremely important for
Yeah.
the First Amendment.
But you know that there's atheists out there that would say that abortion is a right, and to ban abortion is not facially neutral. That's informed by Christian morality.
Okay, well, they would be incorrect because it's still facially neutral because there's laws. Even if a law is informed.
What is
by
it that informs these laws, though?
Even if
What
the law-
informs the laws?
Once again, even if a law is informed by morality, as I explained to Rachel during the debate, that doesn't make it a violative of the First Amendment if the law in itself is protecting the welfare of the people and is not facially religious. So like not discriminating on the basis of religion. Then that law, so for instance, if I'm a Christian and I run for office and I become like a congresswoman or something and I pass legislation based off my religious beliefs, but like let's say my religious beliefs is screen time. Like I'm what are those people that think that screen time is bad? Like those, I'm totally blanking on the name. When they like
What, like Amish people or something?
Amish,
or
thank you.
what?
So let's say I'm Amish and I run for office and I write legislation saying, okay, I'm banning screens, but I'm saying, I'm banning screens because of these other reasons. Like it's bad for our mental health. It's bad for this, bad for that. I could get that passed without it being violative of the First Amendment, even though it's based from even though I did that because it's my religion, the law itself is facially neutral. So other people could look at that law and they're not seeing, okay, it's discriminating against one particular group based off its religious. And this was something that was an interesting Supreme Court case regarding Native Americans. So
Well, hold on. Before we go into the legal history lesson.
No, it's just really quick. It's
Seriously.
really quick. Just Native Americans, they wanted to smoke peyote, and it was deemed peyote was considered outlawed. They said it's our religious right to smoke peyote, and then this I don't know if it was the Supreme Court or the state court, but it was deemed no, you don't actually have a religious right to just break our laws. It's facially neutral. To
Okay, so what that's telling me is that there's laws that you're calling facially neutral that actually mean no, your religion is not important enough. Our system trumps your religion. Because if these, I mean, you wouldn't deny like would you deny the Native people in their whatever pagan faith or whatever, I don't know what they believe, whatever faith that they hold to, would you deny that that's legitimate? Or would you say that they're just like, or you'd say that they're LARPing?
Oh, no. The government is not saying that they're LARPing or that their religion isn't. They're absolutely recognizing that they have a First Amendment right to their religion and all of their.
But then still making a law that infringes upon it.
That law is not, the law is what's considered. So I highly encourage you to research facially neutral. So the law itself is not purposely discriminating against people for the purpose of their religion. The law is written to protect the general welfare of the public and has nothing to do with discriminating against that's not the purpose of the law. The purpose of the law is to protect the general welfare of the people. And then however, every law that you're going to write is going to.
But I think there's terms that are carrying a lot of weight for you. I think there are terms that you're using that are carrying a lot of weight in the argument. Like when you say protecting the welfare of the people. Like, okay, certain people have different standards of what welfare is, what welfare actually means, and what a right actually is, based on what interpretation of the documents that govern the state. When you say like, oh, it's based on the interpretation of a rational people, a rational group of people. Again, that's carrying a lot of weight. What exactly? How exactly are we defining rational person in these kind of matters? Like,
the rational person standard doesn't actually come into play in this argument at all. The rational person standard is a standard in law, but not in this context even remotely. When you're talking about a law being facially neutral, it's like, for instance, making it illegal to smoke crack, right? Is that discriminating against any religion? No, it's just illegal to smoke crack. Same with peyote. Peyote is just an illegal narcotic. It wasn't intended.
Okay, but what informs that?
Hold on, let me finish. It wasn't intent. It's just an illegal drug, just like crack, just like coke, just like any other illegal drug. It's just an illicit drug. Now, there's a certain group of people that say, "Hey, we use this drug for our religion," and it's unfortunate that that law prevents you from continuing with that religious practice. However, it's not deemed unconstitutional because it wasn't like the law was written. You're not allowed to smoke out of a pipe with a hat.
But what? Okay, this maybe initially when the laws were written initially, when the laws are written initially, there had to be some system of morals or ethics that informed that legislation, right?
Okay.
Right? You can't just make laws like on a blank slate. Like somebody has to say,
you're allowed to have.
I believe this. I believe this.
You're allowed to have your religion impact how you write legislation, just like you're allowed to have Christian people.
Right, but in order for legislation to exist, there needs to be a system of ethics or morality that informs the legislation. Right? It can't just be a neutral facially neutral blank slate. It can't. That's not possible.
Can you repeat what you just?
Because a person or a group of people has to write these laws, and they have to be informed by something.
Okay.
Right. So it can't. There's no such thing as facially neutral.
Oh well.
You can't just say smoking crack's illegal because it's illegal. That's like regressive.
Smoking crack.
She's so hung up on the fact that she passed a bar exam that she doesn't think she needs to use logic or actually make arguments.
You guys are not understanding
a term.
Okay, I'm not going to gang up. I don't want to gang
up.
Y'all
are not understanding basic first-year law school premises, and I feel really.
You're not understanding basic logic.
Yeah.
You're not understanding basic history.
Okay, Rachel.
Okay.
Okay, let me make fun of Lauren real quick. When Rachel asked you if you're a practicing Jew and you said, no, I'm not. Do you think I or anybody else was surprised by that answer?
I don't care. What? Well,
yeah. Okay.
So, where are you?
So we weren't. Nobody was surprised. Hang on. Nobody was surprised. Why do you think nobody was surprised?
Because I don't dress like a traditional Jewish woman, because I don't look like a traditional.
Or at least you have some self-awareness.
Because I don't.
Okay, at least you have some self-awareness.
Have you seen what traditional? I might as well have said I was Muslim and then asked me why I'm not a traditional Muslim. Am I wearing a hijab? No. There's certain things that Jewish women wear, and this ain't it. So no, yeah.
Right.
Dumb. What? Okay.
Okay. Anyway.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Lord, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that, but it just escaped my mouth because I just can't take it anymore. This was just oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh no. It's how do you stand yourself? Honest question. How do you tolerate your own existence? You're the poster girl of the dumb thought.
So. Okay. Anyway, and I did have another line of questioning. I want to be
bad.
quick.
It's just so bad.
Lauren, on your system, why should somebody get married in a secular marriage? Why should somebody do that?
So when you say my system, I'm just saying the laws exist as they currently do. So why should people get married today? I think there are a lot of flaws with marriage today. And I would like to change those laws. That being said, I don't think that the current risks with marriage outweigh the benefits that come with marriage. And so I would still encourage people to get married, but I would tell them that there's significant more risks now than there ever were, and you have to be extremely picky on who your partner is, and you should meet your partner's family beforehand and make sure you have all of your religious differences worked out and all of that prior.
But like, what's the incentive to getting married as opposed to just dating forever? What's the incentive to actually marrying?
I mean, you have like tax benefits and you have other like governmental benefits. And then if you're part of a church, then you also have all of the church benefits that you get from getting married when you do in the church.
Specifically secular, it's what I was asking. So, okay. So material gain, I would grant that there is, like, albeit pretty minor, there are tax benefits to getting married. They're not that significant though to people that aren't aware. It's not that big a deal. But
it's
again,
also
but you kind of did say
it's a contractual process.
But you did say at the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, you said that marriage should be a system that encourages like procreation and like family building. But when we talk about building a family, the incentive to do that, to have children, surely you agree that that's an immaterial incentive. The immaterial gain far outweighs the material gain, right?
No, I think that in a secular marriage or in a non-secular,
no, in so for having a child, for having and growing a family, the incentive or the motivation to do that is almost exclusively immaterial. Like, it's not like you have material
that comes in secular marriage as well.
You have a child.
In secular marriage, it's easier to get divorced than ever before, but still not completely easy. You still have your assets. You still can lose half your assets. That's why there's negative.
Right, but no, I'm not talking about marriage. At this very second, I'm saying, like, to have it, like the incentive to have a child, the incentive to procreate with another person, the incentive to do that is not material. It's immaterial, right? And all secular marriage can do is provide minor material gains. And as was discussed in the debate,
it encourages the parents.
As was discussed in the debate, there's a birth rate crisis, there's out of wedlock birth crises. People are not having children and staying with those children and raising those children. And essentially there's calamity occurring in the marriage and procreation world of society. So secular marriage doesn't work.
Okay. Well,
okay. If you agree, then I guess I don't have anything else to say. We can go to callers.
There's a lot of issues with secular marriage, as I have already pointed out multiple times. That being said,
there's no fixing it because the basis is there's no moral basis.
That being said, secular marriage is still encouraging people to stay together because there are issues when you get divorced, such as losing half of your assets.
Clearly not. It doesn't. So it's literally easier in most places, under most circumstances, to get a divorce than it is to get out of your apartment lease. Okay. On average, the average nationwide is 3 months and $700. Obviously, if you're wealthy, that's going to be harder. And that's why one of the reasons why it's a little less divorce among the wealthy. But generally, people are either not bothering to get married, or when they do get married, they get divorced. The average lifespan of a marriage in this country is like 10 years. It's very bad. Okay. This is not working. The system we have now doesn't work. And there's no rehabbing it if you separate it from the religious aspect, because there's no moral foundation. It simply becomes, it's less binding than a business partnership. A business partnership is far more binding than a secular marriage, and you can't force it to be something it's not, absent that moral foundation.
Yeah, you seem to.
Okay, Lauren, you can go ahead and respond to that, and then we'll go to callers.
Yeah, no, Rachel seems to know a shit ton about the law. She really does, about like business contracts and shit. She seems to.
It's not about the law.
Hang on, Rachel. We got to get to callers. We can't do more back and forth.
Okay, I'll just bring in the callers.
Okay.
You're not even a lawyer, by the way. Just want to say you passed the bar, but you're not a lawyer. You've never practiced law.
I'm actually half practiced law.
Here and act like I'm a legal expert because
as a public defender. Are you stupid? I worked as a public defender on a limited license. I've had many.
Yeah,
And I've
it
worked
says
for
right on your
Martha,
own
and
YouTube
I've
channel
worked
that you
for
are not a
Coach
licensed
Roman, and I've
lawyer.
worked for Webb Place. I've worked for many attorneys, actually. Yeah. So
Okay, I'm just going by your own YouTube.
Call Joe
Why do you
Hawk.
talk this way?
If he
Just
knows
talk
me.
like a normal person.
Okay.
Your YouTube channel says right under it that you are not a lawyer. It says it. It says it right there.
In the courtroom in front of Judge Tucci, helping him fight the state of Arizona. And I was. Talk to Carrie Lake about it, bitch.
What does it say right here? It says
not
legal advice, not an attorney.
Because
that's what it says. I'm just going by what it says on your own channel.
Because I'm waiting on character fitness. I passed the bar in 2 states.
Well, guess what?
You clearly
guess
do
what?
not even
Anybody who watches this debate ain't gonna hire you. Nobody who watches this debate's gonna hire you to represent them because you suck at arguing. You suck
All right,
at arguing.
calling an end to the woman prattle. It was fun to watch, but we gotta end it at some point. First caller, Andrew Wilson, the host of the Crucible. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hi, Lauren. I had a quick question for you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep, we hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you know what the share screen function is on StreamYard?
Share screen? Yeah.
Yeah, where you can share your screen. Can you pull up your DMs with me on Twitter and show people how far back they go?
Hold on. Stop share screen. I think I messed up. Hold on. I'm working on. Okay. Present. Share screen. Okay. I think. Am I doing it?
Yep. Here, I'll bring it up.
Wait, I don't want everyone to see
there you go.
Conversation.
They just my DMs are fine. I'm giving you full permission. Go ahead, pull them up.
I don't know how to hide the.
Now back up. Just back up as far as it'll go, and see what the very first thing is we ever said. Okay. Go back up as far back as it'll go.
Hide my other private conversations.
You really should have handled that before.
Whatever. Fine. Fuck it.
Okay, I'm just wondering, like, what is the date stop on? What's the very first date there?
12th.
September what?
12th.
September 12th. Okay, gotcha. Now, if you move forward to when we were planning this debate, you'll notate that the premise was, should secularists get married, not should secularists be allowed to get married, which are two completely different premises, just so you know. Should secularists get married is not the same as should they be allowed to get married. It's saying, should they? And you seem to concede that they shouldn't, right? They shouldn't get married?
No, I still encourage secular marriage people to get married. I still encourage people to get married, but I do think religious marriage has a lot more benefits and is more beneficial towards what we're encouraging with marriage in general. But
okay, why should a secularist get married? Why would it be a good deal for the guy to get married?
Oh yeah, there's still a lot of issues.
I asked her that.
I
asked her that like 10 times.
There's still a lot of issues
with,
men getting married. There's a lot of issues with that. That being said, for the same reason that religious people get married, to incentivize to stay together and to hopefully create a family.
Yeah, so why should they get married?
I literally just answered that. Like, same reason.
No, well, no, you didn't. Because you just said it's what's really strange. What's really strange is because just before this, and the timestamp is at 1:31, you made this statement. I quote, "Marriage is a really bad deal for men, and I wouldn't encourage them to do it right now because it's not in their favor." Now, does that sound like somebody who's pro-secularist getting married or anti-secularist getting married, Lauren?
If I said I wouldn't encourage them to get married, I misspoke. I meant it's more difficult. There's a lot more issues today for men getting married than there are. However, and I think I even followed that quote off by following, however, I would still encourage them to get married for the sake of creating a family, because I think that it does encourage you to stay with the partner. It does incentivize both people to stay together, and you want as much
so
to stay together.
Gotcha. So if we agree though that secular marriage is bad for men, in other words,
a lot of issues.
It's not good for them. It's not a good deal. So yeah, it's not a good deal for them. Why would you encourage them to do something you know is a bad deal for them, Lauren?
I don't think it's the best deal. Like, I think they used to have it a lot better, and I think there's a lot of issues right now, and I think that we could work on it. But I just think it's still a better deal than not.
Oh, so it's not a worse deal for men to get married than it is. So you think that the benefits outweigh the risks for men?
Yeah. I think the benefits.
What are the benefits versus the risks that you think are outweighed? What are the benefits that you think outweigh the risks?
I think you're more likely to find a woman who's wanting to start a family with you and be accepting of having kids, and the type of woman that you want in the church, in the secular sense, but in the family. People want to get married and start a family. People don't want to start a family out of wedlock. That could be for traditional reasons. It could also be for financial reasons. It could also just be preventing your partner from leaving.
Wait a minute, but then why are the out of wedlock birth rates so high? That doesn't work.
Wait, why? Because
if people want to get married to have kids, why is the out of wedlock birth rate like 80% now?
Yeah, because people are much more
because they're not doing it. But the thing is put on your lawyer hat for a second and pretend that you're a business lawyer. You're a big, powerful suit wearing business lawyer. And I come in, I sit down and I say, I'm thinking about entering into a contract with my partner, which favors my partner over me. And chances are, if we go ahead and get rid of this business or we dissolve the business, the chances are really, really good that he's going to get most of the assets of the business.
Okay.
Okay, but that's what I want to do.
Okay.
Would you recommend that he not do that? Would you recommend that he not go ahead and do that, Lauren? If you were his business lawyer, would you say maybe you shouldn't sign that contract? Especially if he said to you, also, hang on, I'm almost done. And then he says to you, because now if I don't sign this contract, we just have a status quo, right? And he can't take all of these assets away from me. Which one would you recommend he do?
Yeah. So if there were any benefit to signing the contract, because it sounds like you explained the negative aspects of the contract, but it sounds like you didn't put in any of the positive aspects of that contract in that description. And there aren't positive.
Yeah. Well, they'll get some tax. Yeah. He says that he'll get $3,000 per year times the amount of employees that he has. Let's say that there's 3 employees. He gets $3,000 a year, which is capped off at 8,000, let's say. That's his benefits.
You're more likely to find the type of woman that you want to start a family with if you're willing to get married, because women do want to get married.
Well, no. That correlation's reversed, see? So it's not that you're more likely to find a woman if you get married. That makes no sense.
No, you're not likely to find the type of.
It's the opposite. Why would you find the better type of woman? That makes...
If
do you understand how that makes no sense?
That you're never going to get married, you're not going to get a lot of decent women. You go around saying, and if every time you start a relationship, into it, you say, I have no goal of ever getting married, you're going to have a very hard time keeping the type of woman that you want in your life to raise your kids. That's why people get married.
Okay, so hang on. So hang on. So you think that the only way to get a woman at all is to have a promissory that you're going to get married, not that you're going to find a good woman because you're willing to get married. That makes no sense.
You could have a woman with you could have there's some women who don't care about marriage. There's some women who will just go.
Yeah, but that's not my point. My point is to say what you're actually saying here is that you're more likely, if you're willing to get married, to get a woman, not that you're more likely to get a good woman because you will get married. Right?
You're more likely to get a better woman if you're willing to get married. Yeah, there's benefits.
Well, how could you get a better woman if most of the marriages are getting dissolved, Lauren?
That
NPC chip is malfunctioning, Lauren.
Hey,
listen, one more time.
What's up? No.
Yeah, I would take the call too, Lauren.
Yeah, you can order.
Awfully rude to take a phone call.
No, that's fine. I'll
Middle
wait.
of a
I'll wait.
debate, Lauren.
Yeah, I mean,
Awfully
right.
rude.
Go ahead.
But yeah, back to this. Before your NPC wiring crossed, what you're actually saying is that you're just more likely to get a woman if you're willing to get married, but it can't be that you're more likely to get a good woman if you're willing to get married, because most marriages are dissolved, Lauren.
Those maths don't actually work. The women that aren't willing to get married aren't part of the dissolving. Like the population groups don't correlate, and so therefore you can't make that correlation. That being said,
what?
Yeah.
Well, how can you make the correlation you're more likely to get a good one?
Because you'll have a wider range of women, you'll have a larger pool to choose from, because
no, you'll just only have women who are willing to get married. That's the only pool you can draw from, but you can't make the distinguishment that you're more likely to get a good woman. If most marriages are dissolved, you're just more likely to get a woman. Isn't that actually what's true?
Hold on, if I may,
women
hang on.
willing to be able to continue their ability to create a family with you. You have a much larger pool.
If I may, we normally don't do this, but hang on. Corinth says Andrew's wrong, and he's backstage. So I want to hear Corinth's refutation that he says Andrew's wrong and Lauren's not saying it right. Go ahead, Corinth.
Okay, so the entire pool of good women is going to be inside the pool of women who want to get married. So when you're selecting for that pool, you're increasing the likelihood you're finding a good woman.
Well, but hang on. You're also increasing the likelihood
Lauren,
of getting a bad woman.
Wait, Lauren.
You're also increasing the likelihood.
Wait, Andrew.
Corinth, shut up, Corinth. It's my turn, Corinth. Get rid of him. He's going to spur. He's going to spur. Boot him.
Stop, Corinth. Stop. Let Andrew go. Go.
It's my turn, Corinth. Corinth, you're also increasing the likelihood of getting bad women by increasing the pool.
Okay. Lauren, shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck you were saying. You were stuttering through that. It was causing me physical pain. That's what I was trying to say, Andrew. Okay.
But I'm just saying, Corinth, you not more likely to also increase your risk?
Likelihood because you have
no. Hang on. Corinth, if most marriages are dissolved, and by increasing the pool, you also could be increasing the amount of bad women, right, Corinth?
No, you're decreasing the amount of bad women relative to the amount of population you're selecting from the first place. So the entire selection of women who are not willing to get married, women who are willing to stay with you and you're not willing to get married, is all going to be bad women. That's 100% of the women.
Why would they all? No. That's you're smuggling in, Corinth. You're smuggling in that women who aren't willing to get married are bad women.
Okay, Andrew. By your standard, do you think that a woman who does not value marriage, does not want to go into marriage, is going to be a good woman?
Well, of course, that doesn't mean that they're promiscuous or doing anything wrong because they don't want to get married.
You're right. They're not doing something wrong, but they're not a good woman to have a family with.
No,
children,
that's not.
right? No. If they're not willing to get married, do you think that they should have kids with them if they're not willing to get married to you, Andrew?
What is that? That's a whole different question, Corinth. That's a whole different question, Corinth. It does. Is there? Corinth? Stop spurging, Corinth. Stop spurging. Corinth. Stop spurging, Corinth. Stop spurging. Listen very closely.
When do we get the stop spurging shirt in the?
Yeah, just because you are making an entailment of woman bad if she's unwilling to get married, correct?
No, I'm saying that by what Lauren said earlier, which was that you're trying to find a good woman for having kids with and things like that.
Yes.
If they're unwilling to get married, that's going to be entailment for a bad woman to have kids with.
Yeah, but the problem is that you also increase the pool of bad women who are available, and we know this because most marriages are dissolved across all pools.
Not percentage-wise.
Yes, percentage-wise, unless they're the religious. Unless they're the religious, and we're talking about secularists, yes, they're always dissolved at a higher rate than they stay together.
You're right. That's going to be dissolved at a higher rate than they stay together. We're talking about religious versus secular. So we're talking about people who don't want to get married in the first place versus people who do want to get married. You're trying to
but what she said is for secularists, it's good because it increases the pool of good women for the secularists. You fucking idiot. Take the L. You just said that none of the secularists getting married. Corinth, you just said across.
Andrew,
you just know Corinth. Corinth, stop spurging. Let me finish. Stop spurging. Stop spurging. Stop spurging. Stop spurging. What you just got done saying is across all secular realms, they're dissolved more because there's more bad women in the secularist realm than there are in the religious realm. You just conceded that this was true.
Yeah, that's not relevant to the point. Can I tell you where you're missing the point of what's happening now?
Absolutely.
Sure, because we're talking about from a pool of secularists in the first place. We're not comparing the pool of secularists to religious people. We're comparing the pool of secularists who don't want to get married to the secularists.
No, we
who
were
want to get
comparing
married.
the secularists to the religious. Yes. That's the point of the debate.
In the debate,
I
yes,
asked her specifically why secularists should get married,
right. And when
why it's good for them to do it. And she says because it increases the pool, but it increases the pool of bad women, obviously, because most of them get dissolved.
No, you're not saying that white people shouldn't be secularists. You're saying white people should not be secularists, rather,
or get married as secularists, Corn.
No, if you're
yes.
already a secularist, no. If the prior is you're a secularist.
All right, look, I'm not having a micro argument with you during this debate. It's not my debate.
Yeah,
but the thing is that my point stands, and she had no answer for it. Still probably doesn't have an answer for it. Probably doesn't even know what the fuck we're talking about, to be honest with you, Corn.
I agree with you. That's why I told her to shut the fuck up earlier, dude.
All right, bye.
Me too.
All right, thank you for the call in, Andrew. Corinth, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I had a question for Lauren. What do you feel about Bowling v. Sharp, Lauren?
About what?
Bowling v. Sharp.
I don't know that case. Can you go over it? Give me the facts.
Okay. It's going to be, the short of it is it's the Supreme Court case that's going to give precedence that the due process clause of the Fifth Amendment nonetheless requires equal protection under the laws of the federal government through reverse incorporation. This is one of the foundational cases for Obergefell v. Hodges. This is the other foundational case than Loving v. Virginia. So if you're going to say Loving v. Virginia is good and Obergefell v. Hodges is on shaky grounding, you need to say Bowling v. Sharp is on shaky grounding for that reason. Or you have the two cases that are grounding it out, being solid cases, good precedent.
Can you do me a favor and add me on Instagram and send me, or I'll just like Bowling v. Sharp. Okay, I probably learned about it, and I think I know what you're talking about, but I really need to reread that. Okay, thank you. I see it.
All right. Anything else, Corinth? I guess she's
okay.
Gonna have to get
I just have a really quick thing for Rachel too. When you said it doesn't give atheists the right to partake in a religious sacrament, I'm going to just quote the smarter debater from this. There's a thing called a name concept fallacy that you're committing right here. And you're saying that the name marriage...
A word concept fallacy? So were you quoting me?
Yeah, that was the joke. I had to give a little more back end.
Got it. Yeah.
Sorry. So that's still going to fall under the word concept fallacy, where you're conflating the word marriage with the concept. The secular idea of marriage isn't going to be what's being partaken by the atheist then.
I honestly don't believe there is such a thing as secular marriage. And I'll tell you something. Alexander Kollontai, who was the Bolshevik feminist minister of, like, she was the commissar of social welfare, I think. She was the first person to officially change marriage from a sacrament of the church to a strictly legal contract. And she did that explicitly with the idea that she wanted to dissolve and get rid of marriage altogether. She thought it was bad. She thought you couldn't have feminism if you had marriage, and it was oppressive to women and all this shit. And she's kind of right, because it's like, if you want to have secular marriage, what the hell does that mean? I've been asking this the whole debate, and nobody's been able to tell me what secular marriage is based on. It's just like a legal, like, oh, I promise to only fuck you until the end of time, unless we decide not to, and then we'll just fucking get new paperwork done. It doesn't mean anything. This is the whole point. If people only take away one thing, it's just that secular marriage is nonsensical. It's like a non sequitur. It's totally meaningless. It's like gay fruitcake. I don't even know how to conceptualize it. It doesn't mean anything. What is it other than just like an agreement to live together and fuck?
So it can be used as a norm to try and have people idolize. We're going to try and reach for like stable monogamous long-term relationships. We're going to try and create that norm.
Based on what though? Based on why would secularists want that?
Well, because it seems to be the case that when you have two parents in a stable household as the best outcomes for children. I totally agree.
Yeah. I totally agree. But what we see in practice is that secularists don't stick to that. They don't stick to it at all.
But here's then becomes the question. Do you think that a secularist who's going to get married and have a kid is probably going to have better outcomes for their kid on average than a secularist who doesn't get married and has a kid?
Not according to the statistics.
It does show that a little bit.
They don't stay married though, is the thing. There's only it's a very small number of them that actually stay married. And it doesn't, like, secularism on the whole tends to lead to things like more depression, more anxiety, more mental problems, emotional problems, more instability, less stability. It doesn't work. Like, this idea that you can have morality absent religion doesn't work, you guys.
It does seem that
it would be nice if it could, but it doesn't.
That goes into a completely different thing. But if we're sticking on to the point here, it's going to be that it is just going to be the case because you at least have the chance of having those two parents stay together for the long term when they're raising that kid. And that's a chance that we should try and set the norm towards driving towards.
But the data does not reflect that. So when, okay, listen, just real quick, 100 years ago, there were secular atheists in America. In 1923, there were plenty of secular atheists in the country, okay? Maybe not as many as today, but there were a significant number. However, at that time, marriage was still very deeply tied to religion. So we look at the statistics then compared to now. We look at society then compared to now. And as far as the things you're talking about, families staying together, parents staying together, stable environments to raise children, it was far better. To the extent that we have tried to secularize marriage and separate it from the religious moral foundation is the extent to which it has crumbled and ceased to mean anything and ceased to help anyone.
I would strongly disagree that you need that religious part of it, though. You can try and have, or even cause that. These are going to be
Where has that ever worked?
Sure. So it's also going to, would you agree that's going to be confounded through things like the sexual revolution, through feminist movements, giving women more independence?
But that's also secular morality. The sexual revolution, feminism, that's all anti-Christian.
But these are all just like things compounding the idea of that are going to harm religion, even if we kept that Christian morality on religion, right? These would harm not religion, but like marriages. You'd probably see a little bit of increase in divorce, right?
But they come from the idea that we shouldn't be bound by Christian morality anymore. The whole idea of the sexual revolution, the whole idea of feminism, and the reason I wrote a book about this is because the whole idea was this oppressive Christianity won't let me do what I want. So I have to, I'm gonna create secular humanism, the Humanist Manifesto I mentioned in my book. Have you ever looked at what the Humanist Manifesto says and who signed it? You should if you haven't, because it will tell you a little bit about why this doesn't work and why we've gotten to where we are now. You
all right, really, unfortunately, Corinth, we only have limited time, so we got to move on here.
Let me have one more time than me too. Thanks for it.
Yep. Well, you've redeemed yourself a little bit, Corinth. That last stream where you brought the vacuum out, and they're like, that was fucking hilarious. You've redeemed
Corinth has come
yourself.
A long way.
I'm developed a little bit of a soft spot in my heart now, so I'll give Corinth another shot. But don't fuck it up, Corinth. You hear me? Don't fuck it up.
We'll try not.
Right? Get the fuck off my stream. You don't get to respond. All right. Adam Dole, welcome. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
For Lauren, how do I determine if a law is facially neutral or not?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So you're looking at the law itself, and if the law's purpose was not to discriminate against a particular group of people, then it's facially neutral.
Okay, so in order to determine whether or not a law is facially neutral, I need to know the intent of the person writing it?
You can look at other people, but that is the purpose of it. But it's not. You don't need to know the intent. You can look at the law. So, for instance, if a law is saying religious people cannot do this, and other like Christians cannot do this, and non-Christians can, that would clearly be discriminating, and that would be clearly discriminatory on the basis of religion. However, if it's just a law and it has no intended purpose, and there's nothing blatantly discriminating against any group of people, then it's facially neutral. So facially, facially means on its face. So when you look at the law, if it's not discriminating against a group of people, then with tobacco or the Native American example I gave, facially it's neutral, even though it did have the unintended consequences of preventing Native Americans from smoking peyote.
Well, I guess I would just fundamentally disagree that that's a standard that's worth anything at all.
Well,
And the reason I think it's
look it up. It's how all of the laws are fucking-
So first of all, I
Go to
did
law
actually look it
school.
up, and when I looked it up, all I got was disparate impact bullshit. And disparate impact is a bunch of nonsense. I hope you realize that. But regardless of that, regardless of disparate impact, this is like 1,000 years behind if you're saying we have like basic literary criticism, because death of the author is a thing that's been understood for forever. If you're relying on the intent of the writer, well, you have to realize the intent of the author doesn't really matter at all. So how the fuck are you going to come and say we have to determine whether or not we can institute a law dependent on the intent of the person writing it? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's somewhat based on the intent, but you're looking at the law itself. You're not trying to look into the mind of the legislator. You're looking at the law to see if it's purposely discriminating against a group of people.
That would require looking into the intent of the person who wrote it.
If you
Or
look at the law,
the intent of the person enforcing it.
if you look at the law and it says, for instance, Jews are not allowed to do this. Jews are not allowed to go on the train, or Jews are not allowed to drink out of a water fountain. That would not be facially neutral because it's discriminating based on religion. However, if the law said you're not allowed to wear hats in this building because it was like a certain security issue, and Jews were like, well, we have to wear our kippahs, it's a religious aspect, that would still be facially neutral, even if even if it has the effect of discriminating against the Jews. That's what facially neutral means.
Well, okay, so
I'm sorry that all three people on the panel cannot wrap their head around this extremely basic legal concept that you learn like day one of law school, but that's not my
Listen, Lauren, you don't understand that we are questioning the philosophical and logical foundations of law. Just because something is law doesn't mean it makes sense, and it doesn't mean that it holds up to scrutiny. We're allowed to scrutinize. You can't just go, oh my God, it's a lie, you guys. Oh my God, it's a law.
Allow me to clarify this a little bit. The reason why I think this is all a bunch of nonsense is because disparate impact is tied into it. Yeah, I assume you know what disparate impact is?
Yes, when it has an effect on certain groups of people more than it has an effect on the majority or other groups of people.
Yeah, so if you're talking about disparate impact, that goes a lot farther than the text. That goes to the effect as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's true.
So the actual text of the law at that point stops being relevant. What then becomes relevant is how it's enforced.
Yes, but we weren't talking about that. So,
well, all of this is relevant when we're talking about whether or not something is facially neutral.
Well,
because whether or not it's facially neutral depends on the enforcement.
You're literally going steps deeper than we didn't even need to go in this conversation, because Rachel's proposed legislation was not even facially neutral, because what you're talking about, disparate impact, something could be facially neutral and then still not be constitutional if it creates a disparate impact and the intent of the legislator was to create that disparate impact. However, that's significantly harder, and that's not even the level of law that we were going to. We were literally just at basic of having the law.
Well, yeah, I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm going deeper.
You don't know fucking
Can I ask a quick question? Let me ask a quick question.
I'm gonna break a nail out of
Lauren.
What? Sorry, go ahead. What?
Yeah, well, okay. Manicures are overpriced anyway. Maybe just, I don't know, grow them naturally.
This is a natural nail.
If a person wrote a law that said, you can't wear hats in a government building, and that's all it says, and what you would call facially neutral, but upon further examination, the intent of the person writing it was to prevent Jews from being able to wear their yarmulkes. Would that still be facially neutral?
It would be facially neutral, but it would be deemed unconstitutional, because then you're getting into a deep. So something can be facially neutral and still be unconstitutional. However, if it's not facially neutral, then it's
facially neutral doesn't fucking matter.
You're not even going to let me. So if it's facially neutral, however, it has disparate impact and the intent was to cause the disparate impact, then it's discriminating. And then you have to look at what it's discriminating on. If it's discriminating on the basis of race or religion, then you have to give it strict scrutiny. If it's discriminating on the basis of gender, then
So then you can't just say facially neutral. All right, we're done. It's cool.
Sorry, what?
You can't just say facially neutral. All right, everything's good.
You're not,
you have to do
Lord
further
Jesus.
examinations.
No, that's not.
Yes.
So the second,
You don't even
neither of
believe
you
in
know what the
Jesus.
fuck you're
Don't
talking
call
about.
him the Lord.
Lord, oh my God, you guys are retarded. So no, you only go to the second levels
No,
if
just me.
it's not. So if it's
we're all
already not
retarded.
facially neutral, as in the way Rachel was saying, she wanted to discriminate marriage based off whether or not it is religious people or non-religious people. That on its face is already not facially neutral. Therefore, the process of determining the law's constitutionality ends there, because we know that on its face it is not constitutional. However, there are laws that can
This is
appear
one giant appeal to authority.
However, there
hang
are
on,
laws that
let's
can appear constitutional that end up not being constitutional because they have disparate impact, and the intent was to cause the disparate impact. All of y'all are retards. It's wild. It's clear that none of you went to law school, even for a fucking day. You don't.
Okay. Hang on.
American legal system.
Hang on. I'm gonna get us back on track. Hang on, Rachel. Adam, if you want to follow up, you can, but make it your last point because we got to move on to the next caller.
Two things. I'll keep it quick. One, this basically shows that whether or not something is facially neutral has no actual meaning. The main thing is it all comes down to interpretation of the law. Anyway, so a law just on its face can't be neutral, and it also can't be biased.
Okay, well then
Either that or
will disagree with you, but that's fine. Every Supreme Court ever elected would disagree. Well, not elected, but put in office would disagree with you.
I would disagree with that. I mean, I'm sure that the doctrine of facially neutral law. I'm certain that the idea of facially neutral law doesn't go back to the start of the country. I'm sure there are judges, if you go back far enough, who wouldn't believe in facial neutrality because this is very clearly something that developed.
Okay, within the last 100 years.
That's probably true.
All right. Thank you for the call in, Adam. Appreciate it very much. That was quite the spirited back and forth.
Wow.
Can I ask
it.
My friend Made by Jim Bob wanted to know, if you're so smart, Lauren, why are you wearing a screen door?
Great question. It was on sale. I thought the screen.
It is a good question. I think your shirt serves as much purpose as secular marriage does. It's basically meaningless. It's purposeless. There's really no point to it at all.
Your audience
is kind of stupid. Okay. No, they really don't. If you read the
we actually have a strict no simping policy in our chat. So if they did like it and they vocalized that, they got fucking banned. Okay.
Oh, that's why they came to my.
They can go to your chat and simp for you there, but they will not be simping in our chat. That's how we do it here at the Crucible. No simping.
Yeah.
Anyway, next caller. Next caller, we got Imperious. Go ahead whenever you're
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a little headache. First, then I got to give you a little shit before I get into it.
No, if you give me shit, you're gonna get kicked off. If you're talking to me, if you're gonna give me shit, I'm gonna just kick you off, ban you from the chat, and feel no remorse for it.
So okay, well, I'll give it to you at the end then. Lauren, Lauren, it's been a long time since I was a first L, a 1L.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think we understand that discrimination can be lawful in the different analysis per the different right. Hold on.
You didn't graduate, did you?
The different analysis per the right. For example, as you stated, can I speak or are you going to talk over me?
Hang on, Lauren. Let him go. Let him.
Okay.
His
you want to pretend to be an attorney? Go ahead.
Well, I am okay. Anyways, as an officer of the court, I would hope you'd act yourself and conduct in a different manner than this. But okay. Number one. Number two. You misspoke about the diagnosis and the description of the right of privacy, which the right of gay marriage in Obergefell comes from. You forget Griswold and you forget Olmsted in 28. And then that leads to Loving and Lawrence and finally Obergefell.
Mm-hmm. No,
it's a gradual evolution, correct?
Yes, that is true. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So just like with what you're talking about discrimination, it depends on the analysis. As you stated, with the 14th Amendment, it looks at disparate impact in the Arlington and Freeney cases. In the First Amendment, you look at things called design and operation, such as Masterpiece Case and 303 Creative. Okay? So facially neutral is a conclusion, not an automatic state of analysis.
Yes.
It is a conclusion reached by the court through interest and effects.
Right, but however, you
It,
see that a law discriminating people from getting married based off religion would not be found to be facially neutral.
it depends on the
No,
analysis.
it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. There's no way.
It always depends on the analysis. No attorney thinks that something is black or white, or they wouldn't argue cases.
How are you going to write legislation to make it to
Legislation is written in all kinds of ways with incorrect wording, with incorrect prose, with incorrect everything. Half of the Second Amendment's argument is about a perfunctory clause. So please.
Right. So you would agree, though, that it would be discriminating against non-secular people to make a law preventing non-secular people from getting married.
I don't know your law written in words. You'd have to make a law and then use analysis to come to a conclusion.
If we were to make such a law,
I can't talk about your hypothetical if I don't see a written law and then use analysis, Lauren.
Right,
how can you sit there?
Let her respond.
Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
No, it's just you're just like there's no way that you could even kind of. I get what you're saying. Like you're not even going to play into the hypothetical because you would need to know the exact diction and then analyze it. However, just based off the premise, you know that it's going to discriminate against religious people. So how could anyone analyze any law that we know from the get-go is discriminating against religious people? How could we possibly view that as facially neutral?
Because you can't assume premise anyways, or you'd have to assume standing, Lauren.
The premise.
What's the premise if there's no harm, Lauren?
Okay, the premise, there's harm to the people who cannot get married.
What's the harm? Has the harm been enacted? Are we talking about an interlocutory? Like, what are we talking here, Lauren?
You're being purposely obtuse, and you're saying you don't have standing if there's no harm, so the law would have to be in place, and then we would have to have a case, and then the case would have to go to court, and then the court
this is called legal analysis. You get paid for it, correct?
Right. So, but when you propose legislation, right? But don't you go through this before you don't just write legislation and
you look at things called legislative record. You don't just look at it and say, is it discriminatory, even if it has discriminatory wording in it. You look at legislative record, correct?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So it's an analysis.
Okay. Yes. It's an analysis.
Okay. So nothing's black and white, like I was trying to say.
No way.
And the fact that you were trying to go in. So please, before you come in and try to make lay people look like idiots because they don't have a degree written on a piece of paper. That has nothing to do. Has there been justices on the Supreme Court that have not been attorneys, Lauren?
Have there? How many?
There have been.
How many?
Go look it up.
I want you to tell me.
Go look it up. I'm not a constitutional historian, but I know there are.
I know that you can be a Supreme Court justice without being an attorney, but
there have been.
I don't think. Let me look that up. I'm pretty sure there hasn't been. Unless it was like.
There have been.
Okay.
Back in the foundings, yes.
Oh, in the foundings. Okay. All right. So but not in like the last 100 years.
Yes, the basis of our jurisprudence, yes.
But not in the last 100 years have we had a Supreme Court justice, or even 150 years have we had a Supreme Court justice.
What does the last 100 years or anything? You're having Donald Trump being prosecuted on laws from hundreds of years ago right now.
Oh my, yeah. Okay. All right.
I love this. This is fantastic.
You're being
real lawyer.
I'm not being obtuse.
Phony lawyer. Let's go.
Rachel,
I'm not being obtuse, Lauren.
What's going on, you retard?
So, anyways, I again, and Zen, here's your little shit. Retard. Make the calls shorter, you fuck. I'm out of here. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah. Well, okay. I was gonna kick you off, but you fucking ruined it. That call was short. Usually it's not, Imperious. Usually you prattle on like a woman too.
He did a great job. That was good.
But yeah, he did.
Lauren doesn't understand epistemology. She doesn't understand logic, rhetoric. She doesn't know history. She thinks that she passed the bar exam that everyone else is retarded now. It's like,
I think
okay.
retarded. Just you.
Okay. Anyway,
Oh,
last
okay.
caller of the night here. We got Based Oracle. Welcome. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hey, you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. So I just want to say you did a really good job, Rachel. Lauren,
Thank
question. Why did you decide to wear that outfit on
Because I was
stream?
on a different stream right before this called Saucecast, and I went on that, and then I had a jacket, I had a whole outfit, and then I had to rush here and do this.
All right, now can you just tell me the truth?
About what? I was literally just on Saucecast. You could look up Saucecast.
Ma'am, we can see your underwear, ma'am.
No, you can't.
Is it a requirement? Is it a requirement to wear that shirt on Saucecast?
I thought I looked hot, and so does my chat. So
Okay, there you go, Kamala. You got the truth.
Right,
That's
there
the
was the
truth.
truth. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I needed.
hot?
I just wanted the truth to get out.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for the call in. We appreciate it, Based Oracle.
Yeah.
That is all the callers we have for tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody who called in. I enjoyed the hell out of that call-in segment. A lot of fun. We are going to go to Super Chat Q&A now, where I'm sure there will be more back and forth, which, like I said, I encourage because you guys clearly have a lot to say. So now will be your final chance to do so. We're going to start with the Dono chats. I think there was some from the stream earlier. Looks like Test Dono. Somebody said, Nathan said, $5 for the quality TikTokery. Indeed, it was quality TikTokery. That was fun. Jim, if those of you that don't know, Jim, Bob, and Andrew and myself are all entering the TikTok arena. We're going to invade the TikTok
So good.
debate stage. I never downloaded TikTok until today. Apparently, you got to have 1,000 followers to go on a live. So I bought 1,000 followers just for my account, like a bunch of bot followers. So don't look at my following; it's all fake. I'm just doing it so I can go on lives. So I'm going to be joining Jim, Bob, and Andrew on the TikTok invasion. It's going to be a lot of fun. So look forward to that, guys. Also, the Hana Condor, $4 asks if he could be unblocked in the chat. I did go into the channel settings and I unblocked your account. So the Hana Condor, you are able to chat now. So just letting you know that out loud. I put it in the chat earlier in case you didn't see it. You've been unbanned. Thank you for the super chat. Joseph Newton for $20 says, Lauren, you're too skinny, your hair is thin, and you could have a bigger rack. Did I simp good? I'm new at this. Thank you for the super chat, Joseph Newton. Appreciate that one. $20 from Beck. No message entered by user. Appreciate that. Beck again for $20 says, I never thought I'd say this, but I prefer Nina over Lauren. I think that's incredibly uncharitable. There's no way you could put Nina above this, or put anybody really above Nina. Wait, did I say that backward? Nina above anybody, because she doesn't even complete her sentences. At the very least, Lauren can like speak fluent like English, and she's not drunk, I don't think. So, so yeah, I think that was uncharitable, but I do appreciate the super chat, Beck. Zollinger for $5 says, you can't do separate marriage because that is an establishment clause violation. Jay's redress for kosher is the reason why freedom of religion is essential, and facially neutral is true. It was a case called Smith. I honestly don't even know who that's directed at or what the fuck that just said.
Me neither.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I mean,
if you want, listen, wait just a second, because she keeps trying to say I'm stupid.
Only because you are.
If you really think I'm stupid, why don't we both take the same IQ test and we'll just see who comes out on top.
Okay, I have previously scored 145. Have you taken an IQ test before?
No.
I will sit down and take one with you at the same time. We could go to the building and take one.
Let's do it.
Super fun.
You guys should do it live on a stream.
Absolutely.
I think that would be funny.
I think it would be fantastic.
And then you should argue over who's smarter. I think a lot
I
of
mean,
people.
I only have a
We'll
master's
host it.
degree,
We'll
a
host it.
law degree, and passed the bar in 2 states.
Yeah, we get it. We get it.
You
got
paid
lots
a
of
whole
pieces
bunch of money to get
You
certificates.
can't
That's so
pay
smart.
money
How
to
much
pass
debt did
the
you get?
bar.
How much
You can't
debt did
pay
you
money
get
to
to get
pass
the
the bar.
certificates?
You can't pay money.
But you had to
pass
pay
the
a lot of
bar,
money to
you
go to
dumb
college,
bitch.
right?
You said that on
Lauren?
Twitter. It didn't work
But
there.
hang on.
Won't work here.
He keeps
Lauren,
calling
you had
me
to
a
pay a lot
dumb
of money to
bitch,
go to
but,
college,
you
right?
know, yeah.
You did have to pay a lot of money to get those degrees.
All you
right?
have to do is
get a
pay
bar
money
exam. The bar
and
exam you have
pass.
to pass. See, it doesn't matter how
If
much money
everyone can get
you
a
have to
degree, nobody gives a shit about it. Nobody cares about your degree
Mm,
because all you have to
passing
do
the
is just
bar,
get a
though.
whole fuck ton of debt, and then you get the little
I
paper
don't have
that
any
says,
debt.
"I'm super
I
smart.
don't have any debt. I'm
I'm
in the
super
green.
smart."
Yeah, I don't have any debt because
Uh-huh.
I went to the military.
I don't believe
before-
you.
Well, I was in.
yeah.
I'll show you my bank records. I was in the military beforehand. All of my college is paid off.
Yeah. Show your
Oh.
bank records on
In
stream.
the
Let's do
military.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
And
old
by
are
the
you,
way,
by the way?
let's get your
29.
social too. Like, come on.
You're 29? Yeesh. Oh boy.
How old are you?
Okay.
How old are you?
43.
Yikes.
I'm 43.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. I've had 5 kids and I'm old. I'm not hot and I'm not sexy. I'm old. You're right. You got me.
You're so old.
You got me.
You're so
I don't know why you don't think you won't get old.
I mean, I'll get old, but I won't look like you.
No, you'll look far worse.
No, I'll continue to go to the gym and do my makeup and have
my
my skin look nice and keep my body.
You don't think my skin looks nice? That's weird. Everybody always tells me I look young for my age. But you're right. You're right. I'm a hideous beast and a dumb bitch. You're right. You're right.
I know.
Let's take that IQ test and we'll see. We'll see how that works out for you.
Lauren, you do know, I'm sure you're aware that the most depressed demographic in like modern Western societies are women that are above the age of 30.
I want to know if you're already 29, like, when you gonna tie it down and get married? When you gonna have them babies?
How did your first?
I mean, like, you are aware that you're like statistically the most likely to be depressed and on, medication. What do they call SSRIs?
You're just like a couple years from the wall, my dear. I'm just saying, like.
Alrighty, I'm gonna go. Any more questions?
Well, hold on. We have more super chats. Hold on. We'll finish. Let's finish this out before you go. Holly for $20 says absolutely nothing. He or she actually typed absolutely nothing. We appreciate that very much for your support. And on to the YouTube super chats. Justin Henley for $2 says woman prattle. Wicked Wally for $2 says I can fix Lauren. # Wally Socks is back. Thank you so much for that, Wicked Wally. We look forward to your continued dad jokes. $5 from Petrogard says the intro song always makes me feel like I could 1v1 the sun.
There you go.
Yeah, I think a lot of us get that feeling.
Based.
Beaten Cheeks membership chat says, "Oh Lord, let's go, Rachel. Easy shutdown in a few sentences. Put her down quickly. Pay you a lot of money for it. Well, pay up."
Cheeks asked for naked
Where's it
pics
at?
for me already, so I could.
What?
Yeah, he does for it.
I asked for naked.
No. She said that Beaten Cheeks did apparently.
Yeah, all of your chat are just my simps, just so you know. So
okay. Well, if they vocalize it, they get banned. That's how we do it here.
That's why. That's
I
why.
doubt it. I've been reading the chat this whole time.
Yeah, because they get banned.
Reading the chat.
They get banned from your chat, Rachel. That's why you're not seeing it, sweetie.
I just said, look, Lauren, if people simp in the chat, we ban them. Just like they could be like closeted simps, and that's their prerogative. But if they say it out loud, they get banned.
I love how she thinks this is actually going to make people like her. That it's going to make her look good and make me look bad.
You know what makes you?
This is where we are. This is where we are in society now. These young ladies think that this behavior wins them fans and makes them likable.
Okay. I mean, you started
Hang on.
it,
So
you old hag.
Hang on. So wait, Lauren. we do
have
to put
You're
this
the
to
one
the
who
test.
kept telling me I was running from you on Twitter.
Hang on. We have to put this to the test real quick. Wait.
And then you ran from me. Like,
wait. Stop. We got to put it to the test because Lauren, you did say that our chat is simping for you, but we have
no. I've been reading it.
It looks like pretty much all of them are saying that they're not simping for you. So
Wait until I get into my DMs.
okay, but
Nobody
I'm just
wants
saying,
your
it looks
chlamydia.
like our chat is
I
actually
don't
not
have
simping for you
chlamydia,
at the
and
moment.
lying about me having
So-
chlamydia is defamation. You dumb bitch.
Wait, who? What the fuck? I don't know.
She
I don't
just
care about
lied-
this. Anyway,
she just lied
smoking
about me having chlamydia, which is defamation for.
It
Okay,
was
I don't care.
It was a joke, sweetie.
Oh, okay.
It was a joke, sweetie. Oh my god.
Anyway,
Like, oh
You
my
know
God.
what?
we're hang on.
God.
Women
Oh
prattle,
my
women
God.
prattle ending now. We're gonna put an end. No, stop. We're gonna put an end to the woman prattle. All right. Smoking Patriot sends in 5 gifted subs. We appreciate that very much. Smoking Patriot, thank you. Ortho Eric says easy win for Rachel. Petrogard sends in 1 gifted sub. Appreciate that. Justin Henley for $2 says we must stay focused, brothers. We must stay folk. I'm okay. I just didn't want to spend $5. Well, thanks for the 4. Thanks for the. You still owe us though. You still owe us that extra $1, which I think he'll get us. Smoking Patriot for $2 says for the second best mod on the internet, Andrew's still number 1. You know, you almost got banned for this one, bro. You almost got banned, but luckily you came to your senses, and for $5 after much deliberation, it is decided Zen is the number 1 mod on the internet. The only correct take. Thank you very much. Smoking Patriot. For $2, Lauren Henley says, or Justin Henley says, Lauren, men get married because they like cuckoldry.
Which proves my point in the Andrew debate.
That's what she thinks. That's what he's saying. That's what you think everyone's a cuck because you're some kind of OnlyFans person who thinks that every man is into cuckoldry. That was the most insane shit ever when you were debating my husband.
I didn't say every man, but I said a large portion. And then when we
she was like, a lot.
It was over 50.
She was like, yeah, a lot of them.
It was over 50% when we looked at the stats. So it doesn't seem like you know what the fuck.
And real quick, we got a $4 super chat on Dono Chat from JK Forte. It says Lauren has a super chat asking her to say something nice about Rachel. Why won't she read it?
Okay, I will say it. Lauren, say one good thing about Rachel. Rachel, say one good thing about Lauren. Okay, let me start. Rachel, you have pretty hair. You have a great husband. I think you have a really nice family. I think it's very cool that you wrote a book, an entire book. Not only have you written a book, it's I read the reviews. You have very good reviews on that book. It seems like you have a very strong family, like outside of your nuclear family. It seems like your parental and all of that was good. And it just seems like you've had an overall wonderful life. And I think that there's a lot of really positive things about you. And I think there's a lot of things that we agree on.
Okay, now it's my turn.
Well, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, no, I will. So I do commend you for coming here because a lot of people will talk a bunch of shit on Twitter but never actually show up. So you showed up. So that's a big thing, and you know, in your little check category of something you did that's good. I think there's hope for you. I do think that you're going to come around at a certain point. I hope, but you know, it's a little tough because I'm trying to get women to like move towards something better than just showing their boobs. And like, if you're smart, why are you doing that? I don't want to see you doing that. If you're smart, you don't need to show your titties to everybody. You can just
are hidden.
Talk about all the things that you know about.
There's like,
look, I mean,
give us all a break. We know what the fuck's going on with the screen door shirt. We know what's going on.
Listen, when I was your age, well, even, you know, even now I have nice boobies, okay, but I'm not going to show them to everybody. I don't need to do that. So it's like, yeah, when you're young and you're pretty, it's tempting because you get a lot of attention and money. But it sounds so cliche, but I just think you're better than that. And if you can do these debates and if you can do your channel, I just don't think you have to do that. And I would love to see you set an example for young ladies where you're just like, you know what? Yeah, everybody don't need to see my titties. That's for my future husband. You know, that's all. But I do commend you for coming here. I do commend you for engaging and for passing the bar. That actually isn't an easy thing to do. Okay, that is something that a lot of people have to do 3, 4, 5 times, or they can't do. So, yes, I think that you're a smart girl, and I think you have a ton of potential. And I'm only being hard on you because I know you can take it, and I want to see you like make the most of your potential.
Yeah, you have to unmute me though
for
Twitter so that we could become besties.
Only
You
if
have
you
to let me
stop
keep
nagging
biting
the
your
fuck out of me.
ankles. They're so tasty. Yum, yum, yum.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, that was a wholesome moment. Please don't fucking ruin it now with whatever prattle you guys are going to go on next. Joseph Newton for $5 says, Lauren thinks it's a good debate tactic to argue both points at one time, not going to work. Okay. And Bang Bang Lulu for $5 says, she is Laura De La Wrong.
You can't even spell my
Didn't even
first
get the
name
first
right,
name right.
so I wonder how much of a thinking process he has.
Mm-hmm. All right, Justin Henley for $2 says Jerry. That was Jerry Springer-esque at times. That was a lot of fun in the call-in segment, and I mean the whole debate. This was very entertaining to me. Alexander Gonser for $10 says absolutely nothing. Thank you so much. Just wants to show support. GR for a member for 8 months says, Lauren, why did you show up to a debate dressed like a slutty maid?
Because I'm here to clean your house, baby.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, great. Wicked Wally for $5 says, woman prattle is why Brigham Young said the polygamy doctrine made him pray for an early death.
That's my favorite super chat so far.
That's a good one. There wasn't no dad joke either. It was just a
Oh,
regular
good.
joke. It's not that hard, Wally. Just send regular fucking jokes sometimes. They don't all have to be dad jokes, bro. They don't all have to be dad jokes, okay? Joseph Newton for $10 says, Andrew the Crucible is hands down the best channel on the internet with the best moderator in the business. He's talking about me, of course. Now, could you tell me when or if you will be uploading the stream from earlier? Thanks. You'll have to ask Andrew about that. I don't know if it'll go to Rumble or not. Alexander Gonser for $10 says, why do libertarians / leftists never understand what a debate is? Always the emotional appeal and take arguments personally. This chat is funds for the gun.
I was pretty focused on the legal aspect, but okay.
Okay, and Smoking Patriot for $2 says most churches won't marry without the state papers. I was actually going to ask you about this, Rachel. Why does the state need to recognize marriage?
I don't know that they do.
Religious marriage, I mean. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. I don't know that they do. The only thing I would say, like I was thinking about this over the last few weeks because Andrew had some debates with Rollo about it and with James Sexton about it. And so it got me thinking and looking into the history of it and stuff. And the only thing I could say is that, so like if a woman were to abscond with your children or the husband was to commit bigamy or something like that, you would still want to be able to have the enforcement arm of the state, only because the church can't like send out policemen to like get your kids back or something like that. But this is why I think there's some problems with the founding of America and the fact that we don't have that that convergence between throne and altar anymore. I think that was important, and I think the most long-standing civilizations in history had that to some degree. So
Okay, and Justin Henley, we had a deal. I was going to let the debate go on a little bit longer, but he said, if I send in 2 memberships, will you cut it by like 10 minutes or something? And I said deal. So thank you for the 2 gifted subs, Justin Henley. Appreciate that very much. John Phantom, 7-month member chat, says Zen is my favorite mod. Obviously, I'm everybody's favorite mod. Both girls are doing a great job. Lauren is a hottie. Okay, well, we can't ban this.
You're banned
because it's a fucking membership chat. He's been a member for 7 months.
You can pay.
He's not the only one in
simp.
the chat that Simpson gets away with it for some reason.
You can pay to simp. If you want to
Yeah.
simp, you have to pay to simp.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's a standard.
model,
that I forgot
Rachel.
about.
What's that?
So now you're getting that OnlyFans model, Rachel.
No,
that's just the
I'm
Crucible
not,
standard.
and I will never be. But you know, young beautiful girls are. I love young beautiful ladies. I love them. I have 2 young beautiful ladies myself. I just don't want to see y'all give it all away just for $5 a month or whatever.
I don't have an OnlyFans.
All right.
I'm
Good.
also against OnlyFans.
Good.
K-Mac McDonald for $5 says, what is the reason in Lauren and Rachel's views for why marriage rates are at their lowest now compared to any time period in U.S. history? Rachel, why don't you go first and then Lauren?
Yeah, I kind of said, I think it's because young people do look at it and see it as just a piece of paper that's not meaningful. And so they're like, why should I? It's just, they see it as just a bunch of baggage. There's no meaning behind it. There's no purpose behind it. It's just this legal contract that is going to be a pain in the ass to undo when you inevitably decide to undo it. That's how they look at it. And this is why I think we need to change it back to something that is based in religious morality and is a sacrament, because that's something holy, it's something binding, it's something meaningful that has implications like into the afterlife, right? So I think that's the reason, because like I said, I don't see the purpose of purely secular marriage. I think it's meaningless.
You would think they would actually, marriage rates would be higher because marriages are easier to get out of today, easier than they ever were before. But clearly, that's not the case. Their marriages, there's less people getting married. There's something to the extent of not seeing the value in it anymore. But then again, back in the day, it was like 5% of women who got married were not virgins on their wedding day, whereas now it's like over 90%. So a lot of the benefits to getting married back in the day is like that's your first time ever getting laid. So a lot of people, that's why they got married. They want to get laid for the first time, whereas now people just fuck around. So there's a lot of less incentive to get married.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a lot of value to chastity. It's almost like that's extremely valuable. Like I said, women are giving away their most valuable asset for nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
sad.
I'm not.
But then they have nothing. They have nothing to offer once they give away the valuable asset.
Yeah, I don't really think that breasts should be. I mean, I understand that men do sexualize breasts because it's been socialized. However, it is a little bit weird and fetishy, and it's not.
Oh, come on. Come on, you can't say that while displaying them and telling everyone to look at them. I mean, you have to pick one. You either have to say it's weird that men are sexualizing the breasts, or you have to say, I'm so glad that the men are sexualizing my breasts.
No,
why are you doing it?
I think it's weird. I think it's weird to the point that I don't think the law, like for instance, the law, and rightfully so, prevents people from like walking down the street naked. It's obscenity. It's an obscenity law. However, should it be considered a violation of obscenity laws if a woman walks down the street topless? I don't know. I think that's up for debate. I think with our social nature, we've been socialized to sexualize breasts, and so that's why it would make sense to be consider that an obscenity. But is it truly if we allow men to walk around topless, and I guess we just don't sexualize male nipples? It just seems very weirdly social. But it is what it is.
So you're telling me that in your vision, you see a future where women can walk around topless and it's just legal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Free the nip.
You tell me you legitimately believe that?
Yeah.
Would that be facially neutral?
This is one of the rare times.
Would that be facially neutral? Would that be facially neutral?
Yes, that would be facially neutral. But according to your lawyer friend, I wouldn't be allowed to determine that until it's been to court, until there's been damages, until there's been a court case. And then I have to do the analysis based off. So your lawyer friend, who everyone thinks pwned me, was an actual, I mean, I don't want to call him dumb because he had some very good points, but he was being purposely obtuse. So yeah, would I call it facially neutral?
So this is
but I have to go through the
analysis. So to just kind of go a little bit further on this, I can't think of a non-religious reason why incest is bad.
Yeah.
So okay. Wouldn't that but there's laws on the books. There's laws on the books that say incest is illegal in pretty much every state. I think there's like 2 states that are like loose on the books with that. But wouldn't that not be facially neutral?
No, it's because
what's biological?
First, yeah, it's still facially neutral because it's not who is it discriminating against. It's not discriminating against any.
But that could only, again, this is the thing. It could, when you examine like our laws surrounding like incest and why it's not permitted. It's informed by religion. It's informed by the Christian faith.
That's not how you look at the law. To just look at the law. Is it discriminating against anyone purposely? No. Like you cannot fuck your brother.
But a law, but okay.
Who's the blacks?
But again, okay.
No. Okay, then it's facially neutral.
Okay. But then when we link this to what you just said, in a religious in religious ethics or religious morality, we don't believe that you should be allowed to walk around topless.
Is
right?
that true in like
So
the Bible?
and that's like legit, and we view
Hold
that
on.
we would view that as like legitimately. Hang on.
In
We
the
would view that as
Bible?
legitimately harmful, as
In
an
the
infringement
Bible.
upon our faith. That, like
Hold
how
on.
to live in a nation where people are able to just walk around, where women are able to just walk around topless, wouldn't that be an infringement upon our religion?
I don't
Wouldn't
think
that be harmful?
I don't think the religion sexualized women's breasts like that. I understand sexualizing like our female organs, our butt, our vagina. Like
Why do you think we encourage women to dress modestly?
Pardon, but I don't
Like,
know.
why do you think that we encourage a woman to cover up?
I mean, according to the Muslims, the hair is sexual, and that should be covered up as well, right? So certain states consider like this to be sexualized, and that's more of like that's where culture ends. So, like in America,
Yeah, and that's why in Muslim states they're at least consistent in their beliefs. Like this is why, they just implement a theocracy and they say you better wear a burqa or we're gonna cut your fucking wrist off or whatever the fuck they do over there, you know. But like in America, it's just a free for all. This is why Rachel said she's not really fond of the Constitution and all the freedoms and rights that it grants to the citizens, because they're baseless. And it's a free for all. It's everybody for themselves essentially, and you can just create any fucking law you want and weasel your way into saying, oh, it's facially neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's never, especially where women are concerned, there's never an emphasis on duty or responsibility. It's always just my rights, but there's never like duty and responsibility, and those things should be like balanced at the very least. So, I mean, I cover my hair when I go in church. That's what we do. We cover our hair when we go in church. So it's like, you can't exploit your female sexuality on the one hand and be like, give me money, look at me, and give me attention, and then be like, I don't even know why you're sexualizing me. Like that's the most basic like fallacy.
I understand it. I do understand that men have been socialized to sexualize breasts, and therefore men are sexually attracted to breasts.
You think that that's socialization? You're falling for this idea that it's all socialized. Of course, it's not.
Yeah, because I think certain things are socialized.
Driven.
Yes, because there's other things that are socialized in other cultures. So like feet are sexualized in other cultures where women shouldn't show their feet. There's hair sexualized in other cultures where you don't show your hair. So yeah, I do think it's sexual. It's a social thing to determine that breasts are sexualized. I think that is pretty much universal across the world, that like the vagina, the penis, and the ass, like those are sexual. I'm pretty sure that's universal. But across cultures, breasts are pretty like westernized, but there's a lot of cultures that don't consider breasts sexualized. And I definitely don't think that's a religious thing, like within the Bible.
Yeah, and I guarantee you those cultures cover their fucking breasts. I guarantee you they do.
I doubt it.
Whatever cultures you're referring to, I guarantee you they cover their breasts.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway, Sebastian Szymanski, I don't know if that's right. $5 says, Rachel's ideas are crazy. How could you say no freedom of religion, like not allowing women to vote? Like, I'm conservative, but I don't want a theocracy. Could you add another typo to that, please?
I would love to address this, and let me just say that your idea that this is crazy is based on presuppositions. So you've always been told that things need to be a certain way, so that's what you think. However, most Americans, or wherever you're from, sir, people are very historically illiterate, and they don't understand that this idea of freedom of religion, women voting, this shit is very new, and it hasn't worked out so well. If you get my book and you read my book, it will explain why I think this. But no, there is no obvious reason why anyone needs to vote, let alone women voting. There is no obvious reason why we should have freedom of religion, because what if I belong to a satanic cult that wants to murder people? Should I be free to do that? Or is it just, we should have freedom as long as it doesn't harm anybody? And then what's that based on? So hang around the crucible for a while, Sebastian. Hang around here for a while, and all of those presuppositions you have will be challenged, and you will be forced to think them through. You will be forced to justify them, and you will find out that they are not justified, and they have no basis in anything other than just, this is what I've always heard, this is what I've always been told, and so this is normal to me, and so you sound crazy.
All right. And next one for $5 from the Smoking Patriot says, I want to hear Lauren's first 3 things, if she could, to flip a switch and encourage marriage and family.
Like first 3 things of legislation that I would pass. Okay.
Yeah, or whatever, however you want to answer it.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, marriage is different in every state. So I'd have to like look at a particular state and see like which state has the worst marriage laws. So for instance, in every state in which covenant marriage is not available, I would like to advocate for the option of covenant marriage. I would probably extend the separation period and maybe even add something during the separation period in which people need to be able to both gather evidence, but also to gather evidence in case there really is something truly horrible in the marriage, which allows the marriage to be a reasonable divorce, or to work on that marriage. I think if the state is going to be involved in marriage, then they should be involved in keeping the marriages going. And then I guess the third, so separation with help, allowing for covenant marriage. And I guess the third thing would be any sort of incentivization to stay together that the government can give you, or added disincentivization to, or added reason to not get divorced, maybe like a hefty fine to get divorced. But then again, that would harm only the wealthy. But then again, the wealthy have the most. Yeah, that'd probably be a good thing, like a really hefty fine to get divorced, because the rich already suffer with divorce with asset splitting.
So would you support, like, what we often talk about is like getting rid of no fault divorce? Like, would you just sum it up at that? Like, well, getting rid of no fault divorce would be good.
That's the idea of having covenant marriage as an option. I don't know if I would go as far as like completely banning it, but if there were states who had it as like proposed legislation to ban no fault divorce and only have covenant marriage, would I vote on that? I would potentially vote on that if there were other means in place to prevent the issues that come along with the inability to separate from an abusive partner.
All right. And Fresh Pelmeni for $3 says, this is the press debate on the Crucible. He also says both debaters are playing a game of chess.
I don't know that I am.
Hey, I think only one is clearly.
Who's winning?
But thank you for the super chat. Yeah, okay. We all lost.
Oh, Sugar Crit, my biggest hater.
For $2. Apparently, says De La Tuna didn't even link you in her restream. If you're talking about like linking the Crucible, like we don't.
I thought I did.
Well, I mean, we're not offended. Listen, we're a bigger platform than you anyway. We don't need your fucking restream link. Just kidding. If you want to, you can. But if you don't, we're not offended. Sugar Crits for $2 says Lauren is drinking and has the tism.
I do have autism.
In and out of the
drinking. Woo.
You don't seem remotely autistic to me. Not even.
No, I don't think so either.
I am clinically diagnosed autistic.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody is. Everybody is these days.
What?
Anyway,
okay, whatever. I mentioned
In and Out of the Abyss for $2 says Lauren looks skeletal.
I just gained 20 pounds. That's wild.
I'm
glad.
There's nothing wrong with
I'm about to go.
There's nothing wrong with her looks. There's nothing wrong with how she looks, you guys. It's not about
that. The problem is how she dresses. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
But anyway,
appreciate that. I'm about to go on.
She doesn't need to do that to be attractive. I don't think she needs to show all that to be attractive.
I'm about to go on
my old lady opinion.
I'm about to go on.
Fresh Pelmeni for $3 says
skinny people. So it's going to be skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Fresh Pelmeni says this debate went tits up right from the beginning. Woo! Thanks for that. Nico Pluto for $2 says love Zen. Thanks, Nico. We love you too. And Silent Zero for $5 says Lauren, what's the difference between intelligence and knowledge, or intelligent and knowledge?
The ability to understand the form of intelligence that you're supposed to use would be, I guess that would be a knowledgeable thing. Knowledge is information that you gain throughout like your studies. It's things like trivia questions would be knowledge, whereas intelligence is your innate ability. You can be obtuse to the world around you and still be an intelligent person, even though that's not a very intelligent thing to do. So yeah. You, like, for instance, just natural keen ability to understand things and numbers and to learn new concepts is intelligence.
Okay. Michael B for $10 says, I'd disown my son if he married a woman like Lauren. Okay. Justin Henley for $5 says, take your $1. Number one mod, Zen. That's right. Number one mod. The cuckoldry comment was bait. Rachel was right. It worked. Great stream, gang. And I'm broke now. Well, trust us. Your money went to a good place. And, when you get paid again, we encourage you to go broke again by sending super chats to the Crucible. Thank you very much, Justin Henley. Appreciate that. Wicked Wally for $5 says, at least Lauren has her bed made. True. Not everybody can achieve that, I guess we learned on the last debate stream. Now I got a basket of laundry and kitchen that need her attention. Then we'll go to church.
Ooh,
I think he's
baby. All right, Wicked, let's go. Take me to church. Take me to church. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's actually him in his profile picture. So
Nice.
yeah, hey, consider it.
I thought she was redeemable. Like, I'm over here trying so hard to extend an olive branch, and she's just over here going.
Yeah.
At this point, it's kind of
we were so close. Damn it.
Anyway, Samaria Anna membership chat says, what's Lauren's opinion on open marriages?
Dirty, don't work out frequently. I think they've been messy from what I've seen.
Should you be allowed to get buried to more than one person?
No, I mean that's
you have two different marriages.
That's bigamy.
What?
Bigamy is illegal.
What's the problem with that on the secular view?
Well, it's the whole reason when you look at these court cases, they're still for a lot of the same religious purposes of promoting family. So like, even if you look at Hodges v. Overfeld, they talk about what it's going to be like when gay people start adopting kids and how those kids might be treated. So they look at the effects of creating a family. So what are the issues with polygamy? I mean, you could look at any polygamous group and look at their familial issues, lack of father in the hood, the home, because he has so many other homes to be at.
But like, again, I mentioned this earlier, the Islamic faith, they believe in polygamy.
You didn't let me answer
as like their form.
You just
okay, go ahead.
Last time.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so even with the Islamic faith, even with the Islamic faith, it is still considered facially neutral to have laws against bigamy and have Islamic people move here and say, hey, it's my religious freedom, or it's my religion, we get married to many people. And then we would say, well, we have this facially neutral law that doesn't allow that because it's bad. In our view, it's bad for the family, it's bad for raising our future generations. And therefore,
I know you have a law degree. Okay, I get it. You have a law degree and I don't. But it can't be fucking facially neutral if upon examination it discriminates against another religion.
Just because it has disparate impact doesn't mean it's not facially neutral. In fact, the only reason you would even go into the disparate impact analysis is if the law was
woman prattle and rage and scream. Yeah, it doesn't make you right. I want to know, why is it that in America we only have monogamous marriage? Why do we only have monogamous marriage in America?
We only have because
why?
It is illegal to have bigamy.
Why?
Why
is it illegal?
Because the legislators, right? They thought
we're informed by Christianity, which is exclusionary to Islam. That's why.
Not. Oh my God.
It's not facially neutral. It doesn't fucking exist.
You guys are not wrapping your head around this concept of facially.
I know because I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea. I don't have a degree. I know. I'm stupid.
It's actually sad.
I don't have a degree though. I know. I can't speak on this issue, I guess.
No.
We already went over the basis of law and where it comes from, that it's informed by the morality and all this. We went over all this, and you just keep restating the position as though that's an argument, and that's not, which is why I'm saying you're the one who can't wrap your head around argumentation. You can't just simply say the Constitution says, the Constitution says, the law says, the law says. It's like, yeah, but why does it say that? Right. How did we get there?
The law says so we cannot have multiple wives because the legislators who wrote it thought it would be bad for the future families of America.
Why did they do that? Why did they do that?
Even if those legislators, right, were from and I don't know this to be true, but even if they were from a religious background and used their religious ideologies of morality to impact the legislation, that doesn't mean the legislation itself is not facially neutral.
We know what you're saying the legislation says. We know what the legal speak says. That is separate and not indicative of the morality that informed it, or the logical process that informs it, or how we make laws, or why we make laws, which is the whole point of why we're here debating.
I just think, like, I've tried to explain this concept multiple times, and maybe like the way I'm explaining it isn't good.
You're the one who's not tracking this. I understand what you're saying, but you're not. You're the one who's not tracking it, not us.
So listen, Lauren, we are. It's true. Like, in a sense, you're approaching it from a strictly like legal precedence standpoint. We're looking at it from like a more like logical, philosophical standpoint, and we believe that actually supersedes or it precedes the legislation. Like, the legislation has to be informed by some system, and that's what we're trying to actually attack, is the underlying system that informs the legislation.
Even if the underlying
yeah, we get it. The legal speak is what you're going with, so you're obviously just gonna be like, well, you don't have a degree, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Even if you're really not getting like a very key point which underlies this entire basis, and I've tried to explain that point multiple times, but I'm done. But as for the legislators, as you were just saying, the morality and the social aspects impact the law. The law comes later. What was the social and morality of these people prior to writing the legislation? They were most likely not, I don't know for certain, but they were most likely religious and based their ideas of how to formulate laws off of their, not every law in the United States has religious legislators, especially newer laws, but that's besides the point. Even if they based their ideas, based on their concepts of morality, which they got from the Bible or any religion, that does not mean that the legislation that they write is not on its face, not discriminating against anyone based off the religion.
Okay. And one JP Belly one for $10 says, marriage is a contract held with benefits and responsibility is hard to achieve, so only the benefit remains as the contract is void.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much.
What?
I understand I think what he's trying to say is kind of like what I was alluding to, where it's like all of this talk about just outlining rights, but everybody ignoring responsibility or duty, is like, responsibility is the hard thing nobody wants to deal with. So the only thing that remains as a benefit to marriage, if all it is just the rights, then the contract doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of void. It's just, at least that's what I think he's trying to say.
He spelled responsibility.
Okay. It was just okay. And where are we at here? GR for $2 says, thanks for a great show. Put on some clothes, Lauren. Okay. Roman King membership chat says, Lauren, are you bisexual? If so, why are you trying to grift conservative spaces on podcasts, all the while getting pointers to take them down from Destiny?
Destiny doesn't give me any pointers. Destiny and I argue all the time. And also, no, I'm not bisexual. I kind of like joke and like rizz up my girlfriends, but no, I'm not bi.
Okay. And Discord for $10 says, Lauren, I liked your shirt until I saw it was a funeral veil. Your beauty is being presented as the opposite. As a woman, I'm grossed out. Please consider an opaque version. I say this out of love.
It's okay. I like the one I have.
All right. And that is it for all the super chats. Thank you guys for sticking around so long. Before we go, as always, we'll give you each a chance to shout yourselves out. So, Lauren, take a second, shout your channel out, tell everybody where they can find you.
Thank you. My name is Lauren. I go by Lauren DeLaguna, as spelled right here. You can find me on the Twitters, or X as it's called these days. You can find me on YouTube, and you can find me on Instagram. And I have a bunch of cool things coming up. I'm meeting Tucker next week. I am going on Jubilee, going on SOS Cast again, and just a lot of cool things come. I'm interviewing 304 attorney Jasmine Jafar. She's from Fresh and Fit, and having a debate with Stardust next week on global warming. So a lot of good stuff. Come check it out.
All right. And Rachel, shout yourself out. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter/X at Rach4Patriarchy. My Substack is rwilson.substack.com. You can find my book, Occult Feminism, on Amazon. And I have a little YouTube channel called Rachel Wilson, and I will be here on The Crucible doing debates. I have big stuff coming up, but I can't announce it, so just stay tuned.
All right. Well, thank you guys both for being here. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. We appreciate all your great support tonight. And before we send it off, I do want to announce that
Alrighty, so that was intense. Time to read the super chats. So we got, what is the most irrational superstition you have? What is the most irrational? I was thinking about irrational superstition that I have. I'm always scared of things going in my ears. I don't know if that's a superstition. Like, it's not like walking under a ladder or a black cat or anything like that, but I'm always scared of things going in my ears. I don't know if that counts. I hope it does. Boots! We love Boots here. She is the best. She has helped me on my road trip. My first time that I went to whatever podcast. She was the best, the best girly ever to take. And last but not least, for the super chats, we have Lauren say one good thing. Oh, this was already done. I said the good things. We did it. We did it, y'all. Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope you guys had a good time. I have been seeing you all over my chats recently, and every time I just really appreciate you. You always say the nicest things, and I just hope you keep coming back because I just like seeing your name in chat. K Max McDonald, I really do. Lauren, what did you do, Deca? I don't know what that is. Do you not know what that is? On behalf of chat, I would just like to thank your boobs for winning the debate. Thank you so much. They really helped. Tia Tamara. My twins big leg. Tia Tamara. Okay. Well, I think that is it because we are done with the super chats. If we have any more questions, this will be your time to ask them. I'm just going to say quickly my recap of everything that happened. I feel it's actually really frustrating because a lot of the points that they brought up are points that law students got really confused. Like, reasons that people fail the bar is not understanding what's like the concept of facially neutral versus something that is like clearly discriminatory on its face, and or something that's facially neutral but has disparate impact on people, and how that can still be constitutional. And I thought that was really Laughing Dog, cap on you having 145 IQ. Are you saying that to him? Did Laughing Dog say that because it's no cap on my end. This chick, actually, I have been smoking a lot of weed recently, so it possibly has gone down. Hopefully not. But last time I tested before I ever even tried weed was 145. Lauren, how do your experience? Okay, so first of all, I didn't know I was autistic until recently. I have a really hard time, like for instance, in this debate, I had a really hard time even understand, like Rachel and him were clearly on the same page because they were thinking, so autistic people, they think like rational, logical, like first, whereas like the average neurotypical person thinks, well, how to, like, not only feelings, but like an emotions, but also like, yeah, I guess it is like how they feel about things. That's why they didn't want to go into the legalese. They wanted to go into, well, what caused these legislators to write this legislation? Therefore, they were religious and that impacted it. And it's like, okay, well, you're not following the logic. Like, in the law, that doesn't matter. Even and so I can't wrap my head around how other people don't understand what I'm saying. And then I just keep repeating it. And I'm like, I'm trying to be as straightforward. Like, I don't know how to reorganize can't disorganize my thoughts into a disorganized pattern just because that'll make more sense to you. Like, this is the correct organization. And so that's something weird for me. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Lauren, I look forward to your next interview. Thank you. I was supposed to interview Stardust on, we were supposed to talk global warming. I'm pushing her to next week because she's super gracious so that I could fly up to meet Tucker. I'm supposed to be going to his house for dinner, y'all. Like, what? I already have the flight tickets, but I'm like, until that happens, like, I'm not like believing it happens, but I'm really excited. Thank you. Let's smoke tree with you too, boo. Thank you everyone for being here. Oh yeah, I am interviewing the 304 attorney. So like for any of you guys who have watched me fight with Destiny, and then the 304 attorney from Fresh and Fit, she's a really sweet girl, and I was kind of a bitch to her on that stream. So I'm gonna make it up by trying to be nice to her because she's actually a really lovely person, and I do want to get to know her, and I want all of you lovely people to get to know her. And also I'll be going on Legal Vices this Friday, and I invited 304 attorney, so she'll be there too. So that'll be fun. Should heroin be legal? That is such an interesting question. I have been on the fence about that because I almost feel like all drugs should be legal, but because the war on drugs doesn't work, and it shouldn't really be the people who are consuming the drugs aren't really doing anything to anyone except for themselves. That being said, you look at the cities that have decriminalized drugs, and like Portland, and they've become a shit show. They just incentivized a ton of people to go into these decriminalized zones and sell the drugs, and that draws in the types of people who are druggies, who steal, who are drug dealers and violence and all that. And that's where you're like, ugh. So, I mean, I guess if federally you could decriminalize it all at once, then it wouldn't localize the problematic problems, but I don't know. Can I wear decent clothes for that? I only have see-through shit. I'm sorry, guys. You're going to have to look at my titties more. So make sure you click and subscribe. Click like and subscribe. Lauren, aren't lawyers supposed to be burning tree? Like, oh, lawyers can burn tree. How do you think legislation got passed to burn tree in the first place? Was the lawyers who smoked the tree getting it passed? Okay, y'all. Anyway, a question. Thanks, Sugar Crits, my number one hater. How much has your grandma paid to get you on these shows? That's not how any of this works. Like, you have to just be someone you can't pay to get on these shows. That's not how this works. And even if someone first of all, my family does not financially support any of this, like literally at all. But even if my family financially supported it, would it be my grandma? Maybe it would be my grandma. Actually, yeah, it probably would be my grandma. Good call. My grandma's a sweet lady. She'd probably be the first to support me. All right. All right. I agree. Good night, y'all. Have a good one. Mwah. Click like and subscribe.